What's this, what's one, what's this memo, one of a series? Sandy, did you see this thing?
I did not.
Who are these guys? Do you know them?
Hey.
Men in like moving.
Yeah.
Future memorandum will address. They have, this is one of these series.
They got lost coming out and the other.
All right, we're live.
Got lost. And it's for an hour. And then it was.
Of course, Rick tells me to go live because it's yours.
They don't call it. Wait until they have everything just done.
Yeah, exactly.
We're live, we're good.
Or, oh, he's kind of like,
Okay, I'm gonna call to order the February 9th meeting of the Town of Rochester Planning Board. Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Hey, Stacy, would you call the roll?
Chair Jones,
Here.
Member Nelson.
Here.
Member Roberts is not here. Member Judah. Member Fetcher. Member Farmwell here. Member Pinsky. Dave Gordon, Dave Church, myself, and Greg Fulmer's coming in.
We will, I don't have any minutes for you. What we're gonna do is next meeting, we'll have the minutes for the February 2nd, and for tonight's meeting, we'll do those at the next meeting, which is February 23rd. So we have what looks like a short agenda, however, I suspect that Rob and Verizon, which are gonna take us to the 3 hours of the morning. So let's get to it. Let's start with Fresh Air Land. John Heidecke. How are you, John?
I'm pretty, Rick, I have a map that I printed out, I uploaded it to the portal, but I doubt you guys had a chance to print it out or
Yeah.
take a look at it, so. You would ask for, few changes, which I've highlighted. We added a legend, we have labeled the, library page for the road. For the drainage easement, and I've also made a notation of those items in addition to the covenants and restrictions in the notes.
Okay, great. So I don't have, John, you need to get me, I'll look
We
at
need
this,
to make a full set.
get me a full set, and we're gonna need multiple copies.
Of
In
course.
case any members of the board want to look
And a
at it.
check.
And first we have to get to approving the certification of the lot line change. So if everybody remembers last time John was here and it was a fairly simple lot line change. Except I had pointed out that there were 3 items that were missing from the original subdivision. There were 2 easements and 1 covenant of restrictions to whatever is built there. So I asked them to find those for me because we didn't have them on file, which made me suspect that we never got them. So they weren't on the map. They were referred to, but there's no reference to them on the map. In any case, he had them up the next day. And they happened to have been filed with the county as they should have been. And therefore are parts of the deeds. So you have those in Muni Collab in the agenda that's available to the board, the 3 documents. I don't know if they were, well, I'm just gonna leave it at that, so we do have them. I asked John to prepare a map after we got the certification done. He did it before, gave me a copy as you just saw, but I wanted reference to all 3 of those documents on the map. And also to assure me that they're filed in the county. I saw the county stamps, so they are filed in the county. And that should take care of that. Then I also asked him to include in the certification that you have online, or the 2 notes that we always put onto the map. So those notes, Sean, in fact, if you want my copy, do you have a copy of this?
Of the decision.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have.
Do you have one?
I don't have.
I put it on the agenda.
Let me get on the agenda. So John, there's two notes there.
Oh, right, yes, we will add the notes.
You have to add those notes, all right? So. Let me just get my copy here.
Good.
All right, does the board have any comments before I read the certification?
Can we do a escrow?
Thank you. We usually collect $150 for LOIs and we forgot to do a resolution last time, so I'll entertain a motion to collect $150.
I'll make the motion.
Peter makes the motion. Soria, second. Everybody in favor?
Aye.
So John, before I sign the map, I need the $150. That covers, I'm planning doing the certification. Okay, so if you have a copy of it, or if you brought it up on the agenda, this is a lot line certification between two lots that were in the project called Honeycomb Hills on Beehive Road. Two separate parcels, and the application is between Fresh Air Land Company LLC and Liam Byrne, along with Sarah Flood. So those are the two property owners of the two properties that are swapping about a half an acre between them. I'm just going to rattle through and go right to page 2, where it says the plan or plot shall be prepared by a licensed land surveyor or professional engineer to describe the conveyances involved by meets and bounds. Both the following notes must be placed on the map reflecting this LLI certification. The first note is these plans are acknowledged by the town of Rochester and for recording purposes only to represent an exempt lot improvement in accordance with section 125-18 of the town of Rochester subdivision regulations. No subdivision approval is required or given. Lot improvement parcels shall not be considered a separate building lot apart from the tract to which it is being added. And the second note, said plan or plat shall show to the satisfaction of the town of Rochester Planning Board Chair references on the revised map to applicable covenants, easements, or restrictions on both parcels, including but not limited to a road maintenance easement, a drainage easement, and other covenants and restrictions previously filed for Honeycomb Hills subdivision and or Cram LLC. That's what John had delivered to us between last meeting and this meeting. The owner shall file in the office of Ulster County Clerk such certified plat bearing the chairman's signature and notes 1 and 2 above within 62 days of this certification. The owner shall have the responsibility to return 4 Ulster County Clerk certified copies of the plat to the town of Rochester Planning Board within 30 days of filing. So I'll entertain a motion to approve this certification.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Peter, second.
Seconded.
Jennifer? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay, the lot line is certified. John, I'll check this, but
Yeah,
you have both notes on here?
I do. No, I have to add the notes. So that's to check for the references for the easements coming.
Okay, so I'll check that.
And the license.
But then get me enough maps. You're gonna need, I forget the number. We need 4 maps. They need at least 2. So get me as many maps. I'll sign them.
Okay,
Let Stacy drop them off. Stacy will let me know and I'll come in and sign them.
thank you.
Okay, and you bring in the check.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you. Okay. Next item on the agenda is dignified dwellings. Mr. Leary, Nadine, Jeremy. What do you need? Dave?
So buggy.
Plug into the matrix. Huh?
Yeah.
Okay, so just, you have maps there. Just a quick update on the 2 items, and then I'll let Nadine, if I miss anything, Nadine will give us an update on the rest of them. The last time before, we had a discussion about how would the road, Rose Hill Road, that is part of this property, how would it be paved or would it be gravel? We wrote a letter to the town of Marbletown Highway Department / supervisor's office. They got back to us, they don't care, so we're gonna do it gravel. All right, so they were fine with that. We did get, Nadine sent us a letter, we did get the changes made that we asked for, which included, moving the conservation line 100 feet to the east, changing the scale of the location, changing some colors of the property line so they'd be even to read. Notations about moving of topsoil. It's all in a memo from the dean. It's on the in the agenda that's available to the board. It's dated January 24th, so they have that. So from what I can remember, everything that we had asked for, you did. It's on the map. And there was also a memo from Mr. Leary, and I'll let you reference it, Dan, if you want to. There was a memo about the conservation area that we asked for.
Right.
I think the way we came out, unless there's still an opportunity to do a easement with the Rondout Esopus Land Conservancy, I don't know if that's still the case. But what this represents is a subdivision, a conservation area, as opposed to an easement with a land conservancy. It's very similar to what we've done with some other projects, Danford for one, there were a few others. I'll let you go into it, but maybe you want to address, or Jeremy, you want to address with the is the deal with Rondout Esopus Land Conservancy still moving forward, or that's still up in the air?
I think there's been conversations about that at this time, but we, you know, in my letter and what we did as follow up to our discussion is, like, right now, we're proposing the HOA to be the principal enforcer, if you will, or holder of responsible for the enforcement of the restrictive covenants that will go into the deed, which I highlighted in my letter to you, and would also be placed on the map, which, you know, and would be conditions of your approval. So we also spoke about the town being like a third party enforcer, and we're more than willing to accept that as a condition. There have been some discussions, I think, with the land trust, but at this point, we don't know where that stands. And it may or may not happen, but you know, and for this, you know, exercise, and for this immediate purpose, we would like to see if we could stick to what I offered in the letter. With that maybe coming down the pipeline, something you don't know when it's gonna be.
All right, so what the board needs to discuss is a scenario similar to what we did with Danford, where there's a conservation area. There are things that are not allowed. It's in the memo from Dan, the items that are to be on the map and also in the deeds. These are the things that would not be allowed in that conservation area. It would be marked along the line that's on the map. There'd be markers there indicating that it's a conservation area. And it would be managed by the HOA, and in the, I guess, the HOA agreement or the easement agreement with the HOA, the town would be named as somebody who could enforce the provisions that are going to be put into onto the map and into the deeds. So from my perspective, that's okay. If in the future you go for an easement with the Rondout Land Conservancy, then that would be something that might happen after the approval. If the approval is given, that could happen after. And it could be with, I guess, individual homeowners, or it could be with all the homeowners. We had hoped that you'd be able to do it as part of this approval process, but I guess that hasn't been able to be accomplished. So I don't feel the need to insist on it. I don't like HOAs to manage these things, because sometimes it's like the the fox watching the chicken coop. But it's the things that you've done to satisfy this board with eliminating the fourth lot, moving the third lot up to that rise away from the sensitive wetlands. From my perspective, at least, I'm okay with going forward, but I'd like to hear from the board.
One question I have is, if there's a homeowners association, is it possible for a homeowners association, they're all in agreement to just dissolve the homeowners association and make it basically, if they just agreed to undo it, can they undo it?
Well, I think the answer to that is that if you make that a condition of approval, that we have to have an HOA, which I think is where we're headed. And it's gotta be, you know, in existence, and then they couldn't do that because the HOA would be managing the road, it would be overseeing the conservation areas. And it's something that's formed, you know, with the state as well. I don't think it can happen, and if it did, you know, someone attempted to do it, the mechanism in there that. You know, the town would have to be notified, but I don't think it's gonna happen. It's gonna be a condition of the approval. If they tried, you know, again, that would be something that you would always have enforcement authority over to not allow that.
The homeowners association being dissolved or?
Yeah, I mean, the homeowners association being a condition of the approval, we understand from the prior discussions that you know, as a condition of the approval, you're gonna wanna see all that documentation. And we expect that, and that's a classic requirement of a subdivision that has like a private road and the HOA is gonna maintain it. So,
Yeah, understood. The fear is, and Rick alluded to this, is that with the small homeowner associations, the members, they could all easily agree just to, you know, not protect the area, right? So if they, you know, they're dealing in the what ifs, but if there's.
So, you know, so the areas, easement areas, however, you know, I know I get my language messed up, so I'm just gonna call them easement areas or both bases. These do go with the property and the lots. So a couple things would happen. If, say, one person buys all three of these lots and they combine them, obviously they come back to the planning board for that.
Right.
So if there's anything to dissolve any homeowners association because they own one, you know, there's also the easements that get, you know, go along with that and be on the plan and be reviewed. So that gives the planning board that opportunity. But that they go with the deeds, and even if they don't manage one another, this is another thing, you know, if they go to get a building permit for something in these areas, it's on the filed subdivision map that it's gonna be referenced somewhere, you know, when they do that. And then it's up to the building department to say, well, you know what, you can't build in that area, it's a no build area, it has all these restrictions. With whether they don't even need the deed, because if everything that we've talked about that's gonna be in the deed is on the plan. So, yeah.
So what, the downside to the HOA is that stuff can happen. If it's done with the land conservancy, it's a little bit more difficult to get around that. But I had a question for you, Dave. Can an HOA dissolve itself?
Well, as council said, it depends on what their other obligations are. If they're, the basic answer is yes, or more likely, you know, the most likely thing here is just inertia. If they're not going to be committed to doing this protection and the other things, they're just not gonna do it. And it's gonna be, you know, it's gonna be very hard to police the HOA itself. If they have to take care of the road, they'll probably do that. I think at the end of the day, if the town wants some level of assurance that these areas can be looked at, ultimately, the ability of the town to enforce is, I mean, it's very, very hard to make people do something that they don't want to do. And I'm not even saying that they are opposed to it. I'm just saying when they get home at night, it's just not the first thing on their list. And, you know, down the road, I don't know who's going to be owning these properties. So if the town has a clear right to enforce. And especially if we can get injunctive relief. That's written in.
So what do we write that into the HOA agreement?
No, you see,
Into the, what do we write that?
this is. These commitments have to be on a document that is recorded and attached to, and in some, and, you know. Virtually attached to the deed. They've got, it has to be a form of deed restriction or something, you know, a statement of restrictions that's recorded. And that way, that's notice to the world that this is the doable thing. It will also be in the subdivision, a condition of subdivision approval as well, so. I mean, the CEO enforces conditions of subdivision of site plan approval, and this would be another enforceable condition. Now, what we want. I guess the right to injunctive relief isn't specific, but it's to, you know, to enforce these, that would get people's attention. You want to have injunctive relief to make them go to an HOA meeting? I mean,
No. Wasn't, so it's gonna need to be on the map, it's gonna need to be in the conditions of the subdivision, and it's also gonna be attached to the deed.
yeah,
Recorded.
there was a statement here that in some form or other, these promises are gonna be recorded.
Right, we took the, is it the Danford precedent? Pretty much laid that out as, you know, what we're gonna be doing, so it's gonna show up on the file map, it's gonna show up in the deeds as restrictive covenants. It's going to show up in the HOA agreement, it's going to show up in your resolution of approval.
Mhm.
The town, you know, by law, will have the right to enforce those covenants. Not just the HOA, so, you know, you're gonna have those in there, and the CEO could charge us with violations and seek injunctive relief if they're not following. Just like any other condition that's not followed. And that's really the leverage that you have over this. And I happen to think, because of, you know, what we're proposing, you know, very low density, elegant homes, that people will want to enforce these restrictions when you look at what they are.
Yeah, I mean,
Anybody else from the board?
I have comments about the site plan. One question, first question I have about the cul-de-sac. You show in the vehicle, emergency vehicle going in, is it cul-de-sac big enough for?
The cul-de-sac meets the town code requirements, that's what it's based on. In one of CPL's comment letters, they asked us specifically to check this turn, to make sure that the truck gets this turn, so that's why we added it to the plan.
Right, but looking at the plan and then proportionally looking at the cul-de-sac, the vehicle seems it's going to have difficulties to maneuver inside of the cul-de-sac. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, the inside radius is 54 feet, so the truck inside radius is, well, actually, I think the outside is 42. So I don't think it will, but again, we did it to the code, so if there's a problem with this radius, there's a problem with the code. So,
Okay.
you know,
Any other questions?
Yes, another question. You probably misunderstood me last time about the scale. The new code requires a scale 1 to 1,000.
oh, yeah, because I thought you said it was
No.
the wrong scale labeled on there.
No, it's
Oh, I mean, we could do that, you just won't see as much,
Yeah.
you know, all you'll see is the lot.
You
So,
want me to give you a paragraph?
no, I mean, if that's what the board requires. We'll change
It's
it.
fine the way it is.
I
No, it's
mean,
fine, I just read it.
Does it look fine the way it is, Sorry?
I didn't realize it
Actually,
was
it's difficult.
changed.
Actually, it's not easy to find.
Does it look fine the way it is?
You can't find the site on there?
I don't think it's matter fine as it is, matter was focusing.
We can change it to 1,000. I don't.
Well, it's also It's also a requirement that we can waive, but I'm not gonna quibble, I'm gonna spend a lot of time on it.
The
If it's not
code says
dark for-
scale not less than 1 inch equal to 1,000 feet.
Well, I think you
What?
mentioned that the last time, so I
Right.
must have misunderstood what you said because they changed it because of what you said the
No,
last
no,
time.
I thought he said that I had the wrong scale on there, that
Oh.
it was 1/1000. When I measured it, I'm, oh no, this one's a 2000, so I didn't realize.
No, you probably
That was what
misunderstood,
was
I'm
wrong.
just pointing out, it's, up to chair, if he doesn't want to follow that, it's fine.
Well, this
Okay.
is obviously not the final plan, so we have the opportunity.
Why don't you do it to code?
Absolutely.
Anything else? Anybody? How do you want to handle are you okay with where we are with the HOA managing the conservation area?
I'm not thrilled about it, but I also, because I think they could, as I already said, I just think there are potential problems there. Enforcement, but that's, I also say that with a appreciation of the work that's been done for conservation areas. So,
I also think in all fairness to the applicant, the code needs to be clearer and there needs to be a solution in code.
Well, that part of the code does need some work.
So
Dave, do you have
I
any,
think
Dave
that-
Church, do you have any comments?
Well, I'll just note from practice, the good news, never put the conservation area in a separate tax parcel, which they're not doing here. I've seen multiple circumstances where
Okay.
homeowners groups have walked away. The county doesn't care, they want the taxes.
So they,
So
they-
I've seen,
they
I have
raffle off the
literally
con-
seen
orphan property.
in multiple counties, conservation lands that were separate parcels go up for tax auction,
Oh.
In this case, it's part of the.
which is good news.
Okay.
Just avoid ever making these things separate parcels. If you're gonna do a HOA.
All right. Jennifer?
One comment about the easement restrictions, and this is not my area of expertise, so I'm asking this for others that may know more. Do we ever, is it common to restrict things like pesticide application? And I ask that just given the nature of the habitat.
It's in there. We have that.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Hazardous materials, toxic substances.
Well, if it doesn't explicitly say that, we can make it say that.
I think it did say that.
I thought it did.
Yeah.
Conservation areas managed,
Yeah,
generally accept soil, no pesticide, herbicide, inorganic fertilizers or other.
yeah, that's.
And that's for the conservation areas.
Yeah, in fact, if you look at my bullets and it's right there.
Yeah, you might just want to use an institutional reference to what's a pesticide and herbicide. There are legal lists, as you know, right? Of controlled chemicals. Is that the issue?
Like cited,
Yeah, I mean, I don't,
Do you have a suggestion of what?
Roundup's a perfect example.
Well, that's a herbicide, right?
Right,
It's not a control.
banned in most of the world. Commonly used in America.
Yeah, but if you tried to cross-reference a list, Roundup is most likely not gonna be on it.
Correct.
Well, my guess is that the board's interested in doing more.
And
The question I have is how do you enforce this? It's,
If somebody uses Roundup and the verbiage is pesticide, the CEO is gonna have a pretty good argument in court that's I mean.
It's a herbicide.
Oh,
Herbicide isn't.
right.
that's not, I mean, if I'm a judge and that's the argument before me, that's not that hard.
Does
a case.
the
So
department have lists? Okay.
Is that a no?
I don't know.
You don't
Did you have
a
any
home
suggestions as to what to change?
They never used
Well, we have time.
pesticides in
Yeah, we-
mines, so I never really Yeah. dealt with the program.
We're willing to work with the board on that. I mean, cross-reference as defined.
I've just seen,
section.
I've just seen with unrelated land trusts, they get a little more specific on what the list is.
Dave,
If you can,
Peter, do you have a
I
list?
could get,
you can get a list that doesn't let things slip through the cracks, then. Yeah,
we.
I mean, because it's saying that they're not supposed to use any in those areas
Yeah,
at all.
I'm just saying what is, the terms are undefined.
yeah, but, I mean,
All right, so rather than go back and forth, if you've got a better term,
I'll
Yeah,
try.
I mean, literally.
Peter, if you have a
this is
term.
What you did with
Okay.
Gadford.
I know, I
so,
wasn't here then.
Okay, we're willing to work.
Hit the nail on the head with Roundup. I
Want to
think that's,
refine that?
you know, that's number one, and.
I mean, herbicides are.
Most judges would think that's.
Herbicides are pesticides.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay,
So I have a point.
Yeah.
Last time we were here, I was concerned about the stabilization of the disturbed lane. And I see that you have vegetation, you're rehabilitating the vegetation, that's all good. There's a reference to using the topsoil around the site. But my question is, what's the intention with that part of the lane? Is it to blend it so that it's not knowing that it's there?
Not really. It's not gonna be totally filled and regraded, you know, back to the original grade or anything. It's really just gonna be stabilized so that, there's no, stormwater runoff doesn't erode it further or find its own channel. That is just gonna be, restabilized pretty much in place. But we do note that if there is extra materials, you know, from the work that still has to happen on the lower part of the road, that those materials can be used in that area to blend the grades. So that is part of the notations on the soil erosion control plan.
Yeah, it's not very specific about how you're using those topsoils that are available.
No, because, you know, we've incorporated that entire area in the limit of disturbance, because anything that's already been disturbed as part of this, it's included. So, you know, it's not like we're disturbing more if they do regrade in there or change the grades, but we're not proposing any specific grading plan for that area at all.
So, I mean, once again, my concern is that you put native vegetation in there, it doesn't have topsoil, it's just gonna get washed away and, you know, that scar, you know, it's gonna remain. And that was,
Yeah.
you know, one of the things that when we did the site visit was very, very disturbing to see what was done there. And it gets back to the point of, you know, we hope that new landowners will do the right thing, but, you know, we haven't seen that happen.
Well,
So-
that is going to actually, any of that revegetation, that's gonna be part of basically the combined work, so, finishing development of the road, installing shared utilities, and making sure that's stabilized will be part of the work that has to be bonded for the project before. So it'll be bonded before the subdivision is finalized, and the work will be done based on that bonding. So, and that is something that CPR will review to make sure. We're waiting to just make sure we're on this right path, so when we prepare the engineer's estimate, that will be included in that engineer's estimate and bond if that work gets done.
You know, I understand, but there's no specification or painting plan to understand what is gonna help them.
Right, and I agree with what you're saying, and I think it would be helpful if you gave us a footnote on what kind of seeding mixture you're going to put in there. On those, it could be just the conservation mix.
Yeah, I believe it is.
I don't know if it's in there,
I
I didn't
didn't
have a
for
chance to-
myself, the soil erosion control plan, because, I didn't get any comments from, CPL on it, so I didn't think it was part of the discussion. But there is a, do you mind if I come over there?
God told me.
There is a whole section with my,
Didn't see it, what we're doing.
yeah.
I had to figure out what it's not. But, you know, and it's always good, Jeremy, so you know this, so as soon as you can stabilize. With the conservation mix or whatever mixture you're going to use, get it in ASAP, because otherwise you're gonna be dealing with invasive species coming in, still threat, et cetera. And it'll be, you know, that happens in the flow of you know, so.
Yeah, so the native
Okay.
vegetation notes,
Okay.
you know, we talk about native grasses, ground covers,
Okay.
you know, we talk about spores and seeds.
Okay.
So this, we have examples at the bottom right from your fern.
Right,
So we do have those.
yeah, it
specifications.
might wanna just throw in what the, you know, how many times per acre.
Yeah, well, and we do have a regular seed mix on here as well.
so I do
That's
remember,
long.
that in the last meeting, that may have been for Dave. Maybe it was Zorian that mentioned. That area that needs to be restored. Is slopes down and goes to an area off to the side there that kind of ponds. There's a pond at the end of it, and there was some concern expressed about how are you gonna make sure that it doesn't get, I think it was Jennifer, it doesn't get eroded away with severe rains.
Yeah,
While you're trying to restore it, so I think that's what David.
I brought that up last time, but I see, you know, once again, I want some assurance that there's gonna be topsoil over that.
yeah, and it does say, it does say the soil, right, in the vegetation in that section, it does talk about that. And, you know, we highlight the area that's supposed to be stabilized and, that's already been disturbed. And we highlight that there's going to be, a berm shallow swale at just beyond the lot 3 driveway. To, you know, divert so that water doesn't go right down there. So it'll be diverted, any water that goes beyond that will be diverted to undisturbed natural areas and. Yeah. I can look at the language just to confirm that the topsoil listed, but,
It's on your landscape notes. It said, important topsoil provides low topsoil.
on the bottom of that page, under your hand.
Yeah, the bottom left, it says that,
Keep on folding the plan, there's a whole,
topsoil will
There
be
you-
distributed.
505
Site.
on the bottom.
Doesn't specifically say that that area that was cleared for the road, that will be covered in topsoil before it's reseeded and will native species.
So,
So it's about a specification for that particular area.
I'll check those notes, I thought it
so
mentioned.
let's take a look at those
topsoil in
notes, because this is the second time that that's come up, and I don't remember who said it last time.
Yeah, I was me to brought it up, and I do remember that you addressed the, at the top of the driveway, it's the water from going down there, but I think it needs a specification for that, how that's gonna be treated.
Right.
You're saying it's not gonna be blended, so it's gonna be like, oh, you know, unfortunately, but, you know, we need to do the best we can.
there. Yep, I'll read through those notes, please. So it said placing topsoil, but I'll make sure that.
So
that's
you've heard what
included.
the board would like to see. I like the idea that you're gonna divert. You're gonna divert some of it to some of the natural areas, but it also sounds like the board wants a little bit more in your notes. The field notes.
Right,
Okay.
right, yeah, again, I thought it was in there, but I'll
Yeah,
double check.
like for instance, and tell me what you think, Dave. How about a statement that any slopes or reconstructed slopes will not be greater than a 1-on-3?
What do you mean reconstructed?
Or, you know, when any side slopes that you are going to be reseeding, placing topsoil, you don't want to have a slope greater than a 1-on-2, 1-on-3.
So we do have notes about that.
Okay.
Anything, 3-on-1 or greater,
Yeah.
get a permanent stabilization. So that's part of the
Okay.
soil erosion control plan.
Okay.
Yep, it's in there.
Any other comments?
I'm good.
So, Nadine, I sent you a note, and I didn't copy the board, I apologize, but I sent a note that the things that I could think of that are still remaining, you heard some things tonight. We need to see the HOA document, that needs to be reviewed by our attorney. We need a road maintenance agreement, which presumably will be part of the HOA, but there needs to be, within that HOA agreement, something referring specifically to the road maintenance. And what we usually do is we keep it, it's within the HOA, but it's separate because actually the code, the town code calls for us to give it to the town board in order for them to approve, not the HOA document, but the RMA document. So if you include the RMA material into the HOA document, I need something to give to the town board for them to approve and accept the road maintenance portion of that document.
And it might
Yeah.
work to make it an exhibit,
Yeah, you could do it as an exhibit.
Okay,
make the RMA an exhibit to the HOA agreement.
Yeah.
That document can be
Okay.
brought to the town.
All right. And then you referred to it, Nadine, I invite you and your engineers to come up with, or for you to come up with a list of items to be escrowed and what the amount of the escrow is gonna be, infrastructure.
Surety bond.
Yeah.
Surety.
Surety bond,
Yes,
right,
yeah, yeah.
that's- you need
Yeah,
to
so
see
that's
that.
also gets sent to the town board.
Has to go to the town board. And they're gonna be looking for a letter of credit, cash deposit, whatever. When you get that to us, Greg will look at it, confirm, yeah, that makes great sense. And then it goes over to the town board. I'd like to send it with the RMA to get both done at the same time. And they need to approve it, and then they'll set up the escrow to accept the money, however you want to do it.
Yeah,
All right,
so, I was hoping, and I don't know, did this set of plans go to Greg for review?
There's a note on here.
He just sent
You
it.
just said, I was just gonna mention, I just saw it. Came in at 6:04. Uh, attached to the revised letter for dignified dwellings, I think they've addressed my concerns. Provided the fire department and highway superintendent are satisfied. The grades are much improved except for right near the third house. Where it appears to drop to as much as 24.7%, which may be an error, but they don't provide stationing on the profile. And then there's a letter. About this, want me to read it?
about the what?
You want me to read it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Chairman Jones and planning board members, CPL provided a review of the plan submitted to the planning board 12/22/25. The latest conservation plan shows 3 lots with 2 of the houses located the same general location as previous plans, but the third house is showing much closer to the end of the private road than shown on previous plans reviewed. The following comments are modified to reflect the most recent plan. The maximum grade for the lower section of the access road, will need to be addressed as a private road. This private road per 125/29S2 is required to meet the requirements of a minor town road, including 125/29C1, maximum grade for a minor road. The proposed grade for portions of the lower section of the private road is 14% in 2 locations, station 2+70 to station 4+70, and from station 5+70 to approximately station 6+75, both of which are less than 250 feet. The code indicates that no grade shall exceed a maximum of 12%. I'm just reading your letter. However, grade between 12 and 14% is allowed for distance up to 250 feet with approval from the highway superintendent. The proposed grade of the private road is acceptable provided that it's approved by the highway superintendent. Greg, do you want to take over on this?
Peter, great job.
Yeah, you're doing a great job.
A turning detail is provided for the horizontal curve between station 3+50 and 5+00 to demonstrate that a 40-foot fire truck can make the turn with the driveway being widened from 18 feet to 20 feet from station 3+80 to 4+80, and a turnaround at the end of the private road with an inside radius of 27 feet and an outside radius of 45 feet appears sufficient. The planning board questioned the depth of cuts and the extent of fill, as well as the cut and fill balance. Depth of cut and fill shown on the plan with a maximum cut of approximately 6 feet and max fill of approximately 2 feet. The applicant's representative added a note to the plans indicating blasting of rock is prohibited. The maximum grade at the end of the individual driveway exceeds 15%. This should be addressed. Town Code 125-29R1 states that driveways shall be subject to the New York State Fire Code access requirements. New York State Fire Code Section 503 and Appendix D calls for grade not to exceed 10% in excess to 150 feet unless increased by the fire code official for fire apparatus access. The fire code official, fire inspector in parentheses, indicated that he would issue guidelines for the driveway. However, it is recommended that this not exceed 15%.
Well, I just wanted to, it looked like it just dropped off at the end, but that may have just been a profile.
Yeah, it doesn't, we show some grading there, and actually, that's kind of why I extended the profile to show,
Well, I figured
you
it,
know, how it kind of blended and that this is the existing grade, yeah.
right at the end of the profile there, it drops off to like 20, no, the left end. It drops off to like 24%.
Oh, yeah, this is like, yeah, this is beyond, yeah. I see what you're saying, yeah.
Okay, but it just, I just saw that and I wasn't sure and I
Yeah.
yeah.
And you know what, and I could put like little driveway stations on here just for clarity,
Just,
yeah, absolutely,
I wouldn't think you'd want more than 15.
yeah, no.
And then the only other note that I didn't quite get to was that there was a fire vehicle emergency access turnouts not less than 20 feet and every 500 feet along the shared driveway.
So to answer your question, yes, it did go to Greg and Greg just responded.
So,
So why don't you just, if you could just respond to that and tell us how you're gonna handle his comments?
think the only thing that was really the comment was just that last little grading, and that could just be a clarification on. the plan.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yep. So this is good because we were just talking about the engineer's estimate. So that's what I was looking for, just to make sure we were good with this road, we were good with the turnouts, the widening that we had shown, because that is, obviously gonna affect the construction costs. So, yeah, so we will definitely work on getting an engineer's estimate, so that gets reviewed.
Okay.
We wanted to touch base on some of the documents and some of the things that obviously need to get done. It's part of the process. Typically, they're part of the conditions of approval. So, just moving forward, what we're looking to do is be pretty satisfied with where we are now. We're looking to share this with the survey team so that they can actually prepare the subdivision map that gets filed with the meets and bounds for the lots, the road, the conservation easements. So that's what we're looking to do. With the changes that were made based on the last discussion, moving the easement and, the changes that we have. So I think that that's all, we can progress that for sure, moving forward, and that these would be, a condition of the approval. Once the approval gets drafted, and then all the conditions can be outlined, because we need health department approval, we need, these things, so,
Yeah,
Look, you're in good shape.
okay.
I would recommend, what's the saying? When you're digging and your rope reach China with stop, you're good. I think we're ready to set public hearing
Okay,
tonight,
thank you.
all right, for the 23rd. Is everybody, can I have a motion for
I
that?
make a motion.
excuse me, wait,
No,
sorry.
You don't want the 23rd?
But we have major conflicts with town of Marlborough and the town of New Paltz, already booked for 2 meetings that same night. If we could have it on the first meeting of March.
March 9th, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so
Okay.
I'll change that.
I make a motion to open the public hearing on dignified dwellings on March 9th.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? So Nadine, we appreciate, and Jeremy and
Yeah,
Mr. Leary, we appreciate, sorry about that. We appreciate everything you've done. So there's still, Nadine, if you can respond to Greg's letter,
Absolutely.
and when you send that, feel free to send it directly to Greg as well as to myself and to Stacy.
Yep.
And then there's a lot of details to work out in terms of the HOA agreement, the RMA.
right,
That doesn't hold up the public hearing.
right.
Hopefully we'll get most of it done. You have a month to get all this done. If not, be part of the conditions of map approval.
Yeah, typically, what I've seen over what's become kind of a lengthy career now. Is that those are made conditions of approval, and of course, you would have to sign off on all the documentation with council and your professionals, before. You sign the plat and it gets filed, so, it does occur usually at that time with the town board involvement. Another condition of approval, but we can work on all that.
Well, I think the longest lead item is gonna be the HOA. You have to do that
Right.
with the AG's office.
Right, that's
So-
right, yeah, okay,
All right, everything else is,
all right,
what we're looking for and.
Yeah.
Okay,
okay, great, thank
You
you
good?
very much. And
Nadine, you good?
We'll coordinate public notification, I don't know whether
Stacy takes care of the public notice.
she takes care of all of it.
Yep.
Okay, okay.
We charge you.
Yeah.
I'm not pushing, but maybe it seems pushing. I just wanted to ask about seeker. Because subdivisions, typically the seeker is done prior to the public hearing, so I didn't know if we were doing that next meeting.
We've not switched the procedure, we've tightened it up to say that we do it during the public hearing period. On advice of council, so.
Reports is that we have to have a public hearing after the secret declaration of significance.
Right,
You can start it before that,
right.
so you can have.
As long as there's a
Oh,
meeting
we need to
after.
have at least one, way I'm interpreting it, and I can talk to Dan about this, but we need to have at least one session of the public hearing after. So that, looking at the court case, Kittredge,
Right,
so that the public can have the benefit of a neg deck, that's what it is.
Yeah.
So So whatever we're doing, nothing more public hearing while we're considering
On
it,
the
but
fly.
we do a neg deck, if that's what it comes down to, and then we'll continue, we'll have one session on the public hearing
Okay.
afterwards, so they can.
That works.
Thanks for that,
The way I read the court case, that's kind of where the court was going, right, wrong, or otherwise, and
Yeah.
threw a monkey wrench into a lot of things, but I think that is where the court wants to.
Right, I think the court case is almost counterintuitive, because most people say they want to be heard. Public should be
So-
heard before they make it, but
In the chicken
I
and
think
egg,
when-
the court said we should, the public deserves the benefit of a neg deck before they, or declaration of citizens, but the termination of the seeker process before the public hearing, so as long as we have one session of the public hearing, so they can enjoy the culmination of seeker and then come and speak to us about whatever's on their mind, I think that solves the problem.
that works for me, and I think that's the correct approach, so.
Okay,
What about circulation to the fire department and the highway sweeper?
so,
Circulate this?
in the same way that you. Are you asking about Marveltown?
No.
Because we'll do that as part of a public notice.
No, I recommended that it gets circulated to the town.
Okay, we'll do that.
For the new private road, which is in the town of Rochester,
Okay,
and to the fire department.
so we'll do that.
Okay.
And we'll copy you on that. I thought you were
Need anything
referring,
from me on that, let me know.
I thought you were referring to, we will during the as part of the public hearing notice, we'll let Marbletown know too, because they were contiguous. So.
Yeah, and I spoke to Scott Heifel today, and you know, he was like, you know, he has no issue at all with saying that can't be paved.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay, great, thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay. Next is,
Stacy. State law says, look, send it to the town.
Town clerk,
the public hearing notice.
okay.
Yes.
All right, the next item on the agenda is Rav Tom. Is there anybody here for? Are you Eric?
Yes.
Eric Trent?
Hi.
How are you?
We carried it over.
Thank you for delaying the meeting 2 weeks ago with the snow, because in DC, schools were closed for 6 and 7 days.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
didn't think you wanted to fly.
Yeah. Well, great, but still.
Right, okay.
Rain and drive.
They're not used to clearing snow. I guess
No.
we are using clearing it. They were only closed for a day, so. Is Mr. Kaplan?
Mr.
gonna
Kaplan
be-
is coming to address the principal issues that you all are interested in, you know, the water issue. I know he wants to highlight how the number of campers will not increase, and yet the new facility will have two benefits. One is water conservation equipment that's modern will be installed, as well as going from 9 meals a day to 3 meals a day. As currently, they've got to do 3 waves, and you have pots and pans and serving things that get washed and then put back out. And their analysis is that it will use substantially less water, but I'll leave that to him. That's his area of expertise. As well as, you know, issues regarding how they're going to lower the profile of the building, which will lower. And of course, in the cafeteria, you want it as big as you can, but we understand it'll go down to 18 feet for the kids and then you know, lower the overall roof. Again, those are his issues.
All right, so we'll let him address.
Yeah, I'm gonna let him do that.
Let me just give the board before you go any
Sure,
further.
no, absolutely.
If I could just give the board and the public just what we wanted to accomplish tonight. We have 2 people that were going to speak on behalf of the applicant. It was Mr. Trent, Eric Trent, who is here on behalf of the applicant to discuss the issue of what's called RLUIPA. It's an acronym. The
Religious land use and institutionalized person back.
say it louder.
Boom.
Religious Land Use and Institutionalized Persons Act. Apparently in the 90s, Congress passed a law that protected both religious groups and also people in jail. One can only imagine how that came about, but on the religious end, it can, if a church, synagogue has an application for land use approval, such as a site plan approval, this can constrain the board's authority in terms of considering that application.
So we wanted to have, Mr. Trent is gonna address that, and then Mr. Kaplan is gonna be here presumably with the applicant himself. And he was gonna address some of the other that you spoke of, which is their latest proposals to the board. The board, and we're gonna listen, I'm sure we have some questions about all of this, and I know that our attorney will want to speak. But then the board's intention, which Mr. Kaplan was here. The board's intention is to begin the seeker process. And there's many steps in that, but one of the steps that we need to go through is called the part 2. Which is to go through the 18 questions in the seeker documentation. And for the board to indicate whether or not and which of these 18 items have significant or moderate or no impact at all. So it was our intention to do that tonight also, but we first wanted to listen to the applicant and the attorneys for the applicant. So are you okay starting?
Absolutely. Mr. Kaplan will be here any minute, but just, yeah, you raise an interesting point. Why did they do land use and prisons at the same time? What happened was the Supreme Court struck down a broader religious liberty law that said any government law at the state or federal level that imposed a substantial burden on religious exercise was subject to strict scrutiny, heightened scrutiny, compelling government interest through the least restrictive means. The Supreme Court said that exceeded Congress's power. Congress went back to the drawing board and held hearings and found areas, and we're not going to get into the legal stuff, but that there was the ability of Congress to legislate in the area of zone based on the record and the issues involved. And so it enacted RLUIPA. And then at the last minute, Chuck Colson came along and said, hey, wait a minute, what about the prisoners? At Prison Fellowship Ministries, he wanted to protect prisoners, so they enacted a prisoner provision tied to federal spending. Anyway, that's the answer. Okay, Jeff, here you go. We just sort of jumped ahead with the RLUIPA piece. Basically, what RLUIPA does, it says in land use actions, as a matter of federal law, you may not, in the application of a zoning law, impose a substantial burden on religious exercise. Of course, you know, it does not usurp local power to do reasonable regulations, but when something is a substantial burden on religious exercise, that contravenes RLUIPA. And so we sent a letter right before Christmas highlighting the need of this congregation, this community, this religious camp that has a 3-month session during the summer where the kids come together and study, live in community. At meals, they have lessons like sermon given to them. They have prayers, other activities, and so they have a strong need that we've laid out there. I don't want to, go over it again right now, but it's in that letter of why they need to come together as one body. And there are various cases from around the country that show how when there's a need to worship as one body, rather than say having three, sometimes there'll be a church that has like 3 religious services and say, no, it's important for us to meet as one body, that can be a substantial burden. And it doesn't mean the applicant wins, it means it triggers strict scrutiny. The government has to show a compelling government interest pursued through the least restrictive means. So that's our point here. Additionally, the free exercise clause, Supreme Court recently has ruled that when there's great discretion given to a board, like in the conditional use process, that triggers under the free exercise clause of the Constitution, strict scrutiny when it burdens religions. RLUIPA, it has to be a substantial burden. The free exercise clause is just a burden on religious exercise, but still it's the applicant has to prove like it is a burden on a religious exercise. We think we can show that here. Again, that would be our burden. But then the burden shifts to the government to show a compelling government interest. But hopefully we won't, don't need to get to that. We think we've got a reasonable plan that addresses the water concerns and the height concerns. I do want to say, in the public, you see some things about, oh, this is going to make this town turn into Curious Joel. Have you seen what's going on there? I mean, you're talking about large residential developments, a very different kind of thing than what you're seeing here, which is a camp that wants to have one facility, reasonably sized facility where all the campers can gather for meals in community and have a religious worship as part of that. So with that, I'm gonna turn it over to my colleague.
Well, you know what, before you do that,
Yes.
Dave, do you have anything you wanna?
Real quick, I
Yeah.
mean, I just want to point out that whatever, and you alluded to this in your letter, and it bothered me a little bit, because you mentioned that there were certain comments somewhere, you weren't very specific about it. I'm unaware of that. I've sat through every meeting, and so now you're alluding to comments out there in the public. I just want, I have not seen them. I have not gotten on whatever website. I just want to be very clear that there is a very strong difference between whatever may be uttered somewhere in the virtual space and this board's approach and what the concerns are for the board. So
Sure, the materials I've seen have been things like in comment sections to papers and the like. Jeff, you've seen.
Yeah, some letters that were submitted in.
but whatever allusion there was to Curious Joel, I mean, obviously this is not a residential development. This board understands the difference, but more importantly, this community is not Curious Joel. We understand it, and so I just want to make it very clear that there is definitely a difference between whatever comments are out in the public that you are taking offense to and this board.
Sure, but one of the things that our clients are very aware of is what's the buzz out there? What is he hearing? What do people send him? Hey, have you heard this? There is buzz out there. That's all, referred to. I'm not saying it's.
No buzz in here as of yet, to the best of my knowledge.
So I have one more question,
Yes, sir.
not to be in any way argumentative or whatever, but maybe you could explain why the client thought it necessary to bring in somebody of your stature. You were in charge of the Justice Department religious Looper area. And is it a perception on behalf of the applicant, or as you looked at the documentation and the board comments, that there's something untoward, or the applicant felt that he needed to place this in a different light, if you would, and get additional assistance? Could you explain?
Yeah, but I
Why
don't
he felt
reveal
necessary that-
any conversations we had, but I said in general, how important it was for him to have the campers be able to come together in one group and be able to listen to lessons together, that was very important to him, and I'm worried that was not being heard and he wanted to make sure that was emphasized. He also had a bad experience with Town Hall Worsing a few years ago. That did have to result in litigation, and so I think he just really wanted to do what he could to make sure that this project can go forward and serve these kids as soon as possible.
I want to make one other point. In the exchange that you had with the chair, in general, Rick's comment to you was that he was generally quite accepting of your proposition, which is that serving all the campers in one sitting was essentially that he understood it to be of a religious purpose. My guess is that he's also speaking for the members of the board on that. I'm not sure we've had any full conversations, but I think that is going to be generally a sympathetic proposition before the board, Looper or not. But I also want to make it clear that the board is concerned about a number of potential environmental issues that may end up. The board is going to be eager to look at alternative ways of accomplishing specifically what you are asking for, i.e. serving all of the campers in one sitting, but that does not necessarily mean that the particular proposal is going to be the one that moves forward. And we're gonna, we hope to work obviously with the applicant in a structured way to do that. But we're with you generally on the idea of serving everybody in one sitting, which was, as I read it, your fundamental main point. But the dimensions, where this is, how it is, et cetera, the board is probably going to take a good look at how we do that, because it's a very sizable facility in the area, and members of the public have expressed concerns that frankly, I haven't heard a lot of, you know, the types of things we were talking about before, but there are concerns about the physical layout, and we're gonna look at those alternatives, but within the goals that you've laid out, I think there's a substantial sympathy for that particular goal, but there's going to be kicking the tires a little bit on the particular proposal.
Sure, which is your right and your responsibility, so we recognize. Very good.
Chuck.
Good evening, sorry, I'm a little late. I did want to just again, go over a few items, just so we're all on the same page. So the first item is that on your agenda, this project is referred to as a 50,000 square foot facility. And at one point, we had somebody from the audience compare this facility to the Tops or ShopRite grocery store in Ellenville. In fact, we have a facility that, as a result of back and forth discussions with this board, is now going to be 19,500 square feet. It's going to be on one first story. The basement is going to be vacant, no use for the basement. They've removed the second floor, which was of some concern. So we're looking at a facility that's more than half what is being indicated in this agenda. So again, one of the things that seems to be an issue, at least the board has brought it up a few times, which we don't really see in the same light, is that this is a facility that's been there now for 4, and so I think this is going to be the 5th year. Whether or not we get a approval of this project, they're still going to be there with their 550 campers, 220 family members that help operate that. And by allowing this camp to go into one building, we will reduce the number of meals for the campers a day from 9, because it was 3 servings per meal to service these people because we didn't have a large enough facility, to 3. We will have water saving devices, both in the kitchen, in the bathrooms, that were not there before. So there will be a savings of water, not more water, and there'll be less sewer needs just as a result of going from 9 to 3 meals a day. We will have submittals before the next meeting, even though we'd hoped for an approval tonight, but I have a feeling we'll be here again. So we will have submittals before the next meeting that will substantiate what I'm indicating to you from an engineering perspective, that we will be saving water and septic and not increasing. And again, I think that a key to that is that the camp is going to be there. And so looking at the entire camp and saying that we want to see this, this test and that test, when ultimately we're going to show you that we're saving water and sewer, we do not think is an appropriate request for this application. We did even review, there were some comparisons, and again, I'm going a little off course here because I'm going to compare our use to when it was a Dude Ranch. They were doing at the Dude Ranch in terms of using washing machines, dryers, daily linen and towels versus our camp's general need to do that once every 3 weeks. They were doing it daily. Horses were not only drinking, but being bathed and groomed every day. The guests and staff needed far more showers because of the nature of the activity on the premises than the case when you have basically children in a camp and educational facility. The hotel had baths. A bath generally is 65 gallons per use. A shower, 15 gallons. There's only showers there now. There won't be any baths. The showers there all had the old style shower heads. They've all been replaced by water saving devices. Going to the building itself, as I mentioned to you, the building, the footprint of the building will be under 20,000 square feet. We feel that that is the minimum that we can do and still have a kitchen and a dining facility for 550 children. The building height in this district, 35 feet is the height, maximum height. We will be under that. We've reduced the actual ceiling from 22 feet to 18 feet. That doesn't mean that will be the roof line, because obviously there's a roof on top of that ceiling. But we feel we'll be under 33 feet in that respect. There were complaints, probably the biggest complaint I heard through most of the comments here was the lighting. And again, even though most of that lighting is already in place, we will, as part of this application, agree to dark sky all of the fixtures and reduce lighting there as much as possible. So in general, I believe that the applicant has made every effort to be sensitive to the needs. Even the color of the building has been changed to earth tones, and the straight lines have been removed. So we are prepared to respond to any additional items you might have, but we feel that we've come a long way from the original presentation and application that we made.
I have one clarification, which is when you said that they're going from 9 meals to 3, it's the same number of meals, it's just 3 servings.
3 servings.
Okay, so it's the same number of meals.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but there'll be more efficiencies in water and sewer use that we'll show you. That's by doing it all at once rather than having, again, 9 meals.
Anybody else have comments?
I had the same.
So I'll make a couple of comments which summarizes the many meetings that we've had in the past, and I think where the board is at right now. Clearly, we've been working for months to get this to what the board was hoping to be a more acceptable size in terms of the footprint, the height, and all of that, the look, the feel, color, et cetera, et cetera. We also have talked in the past, before you even came on board, Jeff, but we have had that discussion with you, that there's a little bit of project creep here with this site. Namely that it's the feeling of or the belief of the board, substantiated by some documentation that we've been able to find, that the usage, the number of people, the usage, the number of bedrooms, all of the facilities that were used before it changed hands multiple times, that the amount of water and the amount of septic was substantially less than it is today. And that in the course of what I would call project creep, new buildings, old buildings renovated, old buildings with a second floor placed upon it, old buildings taken down, new buildings put in, new uses created, indoor golf replaced by multiple showers, and a whole host of changes that have been made. There was no adequate vetting of the impact on water and sewer, water and septic. And the addition, so period. The board has been looking at this as a project to put in a new dining facility of 550 people seating at any one time. I know the board became aware at some point in December or late November that there was additional 220 people that was mentioned in a report that we got from an engineer by the name of Sterling Engineering. That was somewhat of a shock I mean, if I look at it retrospectively, maybe it shouldn't have been, but it was somewhat one of a shock. In that we thought 550 was the entire number, be it campers, be it add-ons, be it counselors, be it family. We thought the 550 was the entire number. And then it grew to 770. Well, maybe it was always 770, but our knowledge of what was that it was 770. It was never the case that in prior years that there were 770 people there. While it was being operated as a camp, under Ralph Tav, under that name, it could have been, but prior to that, it was substantially, from what we can find, substantially less, either in terms of the housing available for those people, as well as the water usage, although it's been difficult to find actual water usage numbers. Be that as it may, I'm sure we will at some point. So the concern has been that from the years in which it unbecame the Dude Ranch after the early demise of the previous owner, its acquisition by one of the workers there, and then the subsequent acquisition by MCRT, that there was a significant increase in the number of people and the usage of infrastructure, namely water and septic, from the Dude Ranch up to 2 or 3 years ago, and certainly up to today. So thus the board has been calling that kind of a project creep. It should have come to us during the course of all these additions in order for the board to take into consideration an amended site plan. Multiple amended site plans, because there were multiple changes made. The same for lighting. All of a sudden, the lighting, I don't know what the lighting was like when O'Halloran had it, but certainly the lighting now has crept to a point of light pollution, if you wish, in the country. So I think that's where the board is extremely concerned right now in terms of what is the capability of the groundwater aquifer, of the current septic systems to accommodate 770 people. So I know that some of the discussions we've had with you at this meeting has been, we're only applying for a dining facility for 550 people. Well, yeah, but we need to look at the whole site, the impact of that on the whole site. And then we come to find out there's been a host of changes in the last 4 years that presumably went through a building permit process, question mark. I'm sure it did of some sort, but never should have been handled individually as individual this, individual that. Should have been an entire look-see at the entire site to see whether or not that site was able to accommodate that kind of use. And if not, then what would need to be done by the applicant in order to accommodate that kind of use. So this board is at the point where we want to evaluate everything that's going on there, has gone on there up to this point, as part of what we're doing right now with this proposal for the dining facility. And we believe that under seeker, that we should look at that, to only look at what 550, the impact of 550 might have, is ignoring what's been going on there for the last 2 or 3 years in terms of total water usage and total septic uses. I don't know, and that look-see needs to take place along with the applicant's engineers. I have no idea what that answer is going to come out as. Could be the same usage, could be more. I don't know. You've proposed or suggested that it's going to be less because of water saving devices. God bless. If that's the case, wonderful. But if it's not, if it's significant, if it's more, well, we need to know that and be reassured that there is enough water in the aquifer and enough septic coverage, if you would, in order to handle that. One of the things obvious from the Sterling report that I referenced before, which we saw for the first time, it was November, I believe, sometime, was the suggestion that the applicable gallons per day used by that engineering firm was significantly less than what we would normally see used by an applicant for a similar use. And I only take that other camp that we had where the number, as I recall, was 55 gallons per day as opposed to 35 gallons per day. Be that as it may, that's why we have an engineer to tell us, based upon the New York State standards, what is the number that should be used? And of course, you have the Department of Health who also weighs in on it. And by the way, on that project, the Department of Health agreed with the board that the number is 55, not what they were trying to use for that project. So, and there was enough water, as it turns out. There were just other issues with that situation. So that came as a shock to us that that was the number that was being proposed by that company. And that's fine, but we believe it's wrong, given the use, given the use. And, you know, so on and so forth. So we're faced with this project creep, we'll call it project creep, and the need to look at the entire project and its impacts on the environment there and in the surrounding area. You have traffic. I know I've heard the applicant speak eloquently about, or maybe it was you, Jeff, speak that when it was the Dude Ranch, people were arriving there all week long, all year long. And now it's a condensed period of time when buses arrive, deliver the children, buses go back to take the children away. That may be the case, there may be less traffic, but until we do some sort of a traffic study, since the use has changed from a Dude Ranch to what it is today, we're not gonna know that. I mean, there's no argument that the lighting has got to change. I think we can all agree to that right now. In fact, we could even agree that you would begin those changes right now. And we'd be happy as a pig in the proverbial hot bun. So there are multiple things that are going on there that we want to get our arms around as a board and take into consideration and work through with the applicants, experts, in order to come up with where we at. So today, tonight, and I'll let you, of course, respond to that, both gentlemen, and to Moshi and the other gentleman who's arrived. Our intent tonight was to go through the seeker part 2, which, as I mentioned earlier before you got here, is to go through all 18 of the items. And it's up to the board to decide which of those items have no impact, or we don't have to worry about, or there is an impact, and is that impact significant or not?
When we get to that, I'm gonna wanna go into a little bit more detail.
I'll let you do that.
The words may not be the same as.
Let me do, so that's what we wanted to do tonight. But I've talked longer than I usually talk, I bet. So, but I'll let the two of you respond.
So again, my major objection to that is that they've been there 4 or 5 years. They've followed the steps. The building department has been on the premises while they're in operation. The Board of Health has been there. DEC is aware of their use. There was never a requirement by the building department for any other uses other than the one we have here today to come before this board, and that's the protocol in this town. You go to your building department, they make the determination of whether or not you should be before the planning board or not. And this is the first time on this first application they said to come here. So my concern about what you're doing is obviously, it sounds like you've never been on the premises before, Rob Cobb, and so we're going to treat this as if you just bought the property yesterday and you're coming on and we're going to review the whole use of the property, and that's not what this application is. At the end of the day, your approval process is going to be, should they be able to build a new kitchen dining room or not? Because if you say no, they can walk right back in and they've done what they've done for the last 5 years. And so it's not clear to me that your overall analysis of a camp that's already been there for so many years and reviewed at different levels is an appropriate review.
I can
If we can show you and I think we can, that our water and sewer use will be less than what's been there before, and that they've been able to get sufficient water and sewer for their uses up until now, that should suffice. That's our position.
But Jeff, what if it's more?
Hmm?
You just said, and you said it before as well, you made it now a consistent comparison between what's being used now and what was used before, when it was Pine Grove or whatever it was before. And you're asserting that the water use is less or is going to be less, right?
Less than what we've been using, not less than what it was when it was a dude range. I was trying to compare what the water uses of a dude ranch, because there's been some comments here about the population when it was a dude ranch versus here.
Right.
And I know I might have gone off on a tangent in doing that, but the bottom line is, I'm looking at a camp that has now been in effect for 4 to 5 years.
Jeff,
Using certain water and sewer, and our position is that what we are doing now will save water and sewer.
but you've also compared it, whatever you did, I mean, you compared it to the use that was before.
Right.
And my question to you, and you've asserted that it's less. And my question to you
No,
is.
I did not assert it was less than the Pine Grove. I just gave comparisons because there have been comments here that the population when it was a dude ranch was significantly less than it was a camp. My comments were that it was an entirely different use of the water and sewer systems when it was a dude ranch. Whether it used more or less, I don't know the answer to that.
Well, that's with all respect. We've all heard it. You brought up the comparison yourself. I think it's an apt comparison. And you're probably aware that you're in an aquifer protection district. I wrote a memo to the board a year ago, believing that there was going to be no greater use here, and therefore that we didn't need to do an aquifer, a hydrogeologic study. If this water use has increased over the same period you're referencing, that's a different kettle of fish. I mean, we have an aquifer to protect here. The rule is that we need to do a hydrogeologic study if it's increased. We're beginning to look at some of those old records, and I don't know where it's going to come out, but that's something that we're going to look at.
And I think the important thing that the board has reflected on is the cumulative effect of the last 4 years of operation. What's the cumulative effect over that of the previous use under the dude ranch scenario? So what is that cumulative effect? And we were looking at this 550. I mentioned we erroneously, as it turns out, thought that that was the total number of people that were there.
It wasn't narrative.
It's not. It's 770. So we're looking at the cumulative effect. Want to look at the cumulative effect since the time of the dude ranch. That's where this board is at.
I think Jeff's point is that the apt comparison is what, the new building will have that you're considering approving or not, versus what will exist this summer if the building's not approved, which is the 750 on the current premises without the water saving devices and having 9 instead of 3 meals a day.
But our point, Eric, is that 750, I understand what you're saying, but the 750 that are there today is using water and septic way in excess, potentially, of what the capacity is in the aquifer or the septic systems. And that's what we need to evaluate to see if, as a result of what you're doing, it gives us an opportunity to look at the cumulative effects that have not been evaluated properly, if at all, in the past since the demise of the dude ranch. And under seeker, we need to look at those cumulative full site effects. In the same way with lighting, right? And by your potential argument, you're saying, well, they got approval for lighting before from the building department. And they said it was okay, I guess. I don't know. We can't, eventually we'll find those permits, I guess. What we're saying right now is like, wait a minute. The lighting is inappropriate under the current rules. And we believe, not ours necessarily, we have a code that says we follow the dark sky, we're dark sky compliant, the state dark sky rules. And we believe that as a result of this large project, we have the ability to look at the full project, the full site, and to make corrections where there may have been errors made in the past. I don't want to, I'm not going to speak for the board. However, I think it's apt to say that the board agrees with the concept of putting everything under one roof. It's where on the property is that going to happen? What's the size of that facility? And then what are the effects, the cumulative effects that have occurred over the last 4 years that have not been adequately measured? What are the cumulative effects of all those items? We now have an opportunity to take a look at all those and to work to make sure that there is enough capacity, or if not, a way is found to create that capacity. What if we find in our analysis, your analysis, we're going to work on this together. What if we find that there is not adequate septic? I gave the example of Sterling Associates, the engineering firm. Their numbers are wrong. Well, not all their numbers, but some of their numbers are wrong in terms of the water per day per person. If that's wrong, then the potentially, if that's wrong, then whatever's been built in terms of septic capacity might also be flawed. Because water out, water in. And that's what we want to look at. Dave? Anybody else from the board?
I agree. I think we have to establish what the benchmark is in order to understand. We have just a lot of numbers that are not backed up by documentation. There've been incremental years of incremental changes, and they haven't been assessed for whatever reason. And I think we just need to establish the benchmark in order before we have to have all the information before we can.
And we have obligation before the community, people live around them. So it doesn't jeopardize the everyday activities and life. That's essentially what comes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anybody else from the board? Because I do want to get into the part 2. We good?
I think you summarized.
Yeah.
I think you
I
summarized.
think you did a very good job summarizing the board's concerns and speaking.
All right, so we're going to do the part 2, which is painless in some ways. We don't flog the applicant as we go through it.
Yes.
Dave, help me with. Go ahead. You wanted to say something?
I did. As I think people know, the part 2 has 2 different categories. We got to choose either column A or column B. Column A is none or low expected impact. Column B is moderate to large prospective impact. Column B, if we were to check something in column B, you got a question?
No, I'm looking for the handouts.
Yeah,
That, and we sometimes use the form differently, but I just want to make it really clear to everybody on the board and the applicant that if we were to check moderate to large impact in column B for any particular impact, that is not by itself a basis for positive declaration. It does not mean a positive declaration at all. What it means is that particular potential impact needs to be reviewed in more detail, and that those whichever impacts we decide are moderate to large and therefore need to be looked at in more detail becomes the basis for a part 3, essentially, which ultimately will go into our declaration of significance. So just because we check moderate to large doesn't mean it's a positive. It means that we have a level of concern and that it will be looked at, analyzed more with a hard look in a part 3. If it's low to if it's 0 to low impact, that basically means we're dismissing it from further review. So you are free essentially to call it moderate to large, which means we're going to basically be ordering more of a hard look at it without necessarily getting it into a positive declaration. I want to make that really clear to everybody because so that aspect is missed, and I don't like to happen.
So Stacy gave out 2 items. One is the blank sheet. And I want to make sure that the applicant has a copy of it. And then the other thing is Dave Church's letter of February 3rd. which starting on page 3. Goes through his analysis out of the box of what the items, how we should find, hang on, sir, I know you have the hand up. What we, how we should evaluate the item. So, Dave is gonna take us through it. It's not Dave's decision, it's this board's decision. So what I would hope to have happen is that is a discussion. Some things are pretty obvious, and I'm gonna ask the board on those that aren't obvious, we'll have a discussion, and then we're gonna vote on each item. And we're not gonna spend a lot of time on each item, batting it around. So,
Question about the process, Stacy document the comments and what we needed and so on for each patient.
I'm lost.
He's asking if Stacy's going to document the board's
Yes,
comments.
of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, your comments.
Right, and basically
So
what
you
is
want
missing,
her to document everybody's comments.
well, conclusion, what is missing?
Yes,
First,
she's gonna
we don't
capture
say,
the
okay, it's not
conclusions.
enough.
Okay, she's not necessarily gonna have a rendition if everybody
Right, no,
has.
no, I didn't know that.
Okay.
Why not, Stacy?
I'm gonna track the answers and I'll try my best.
We
to
have it
correct
taped
comment.
if you want to listen to everybody. All right, so Dave. Are you okay with going through this? Leading us through it? Sure. Okay.
I'm excited.
What's that?
I'm excited.
Good. Or do you want me to get started?
No, I can, if you want, what do you want to do with it?
Well, let me get started. I'll
Let me
start.
just want me to set the
Sorry,
stage.
go ahead.
There are 18 categories in the or impact areas on the part 2. You've done this before. As Mr. Gordon noted, you've got 2 choices. Each category has multiple subcategories. They're basically statements to answer no or small impact or moderate to large impact. The chairman asked me earlier this year to, based on what available to me as of that time, how I might recommend you answer these. There may be new information that's come in since, aware of or not aware of, which will change this. I also, working with Jennifer and Helena, crafting this memo, will emphasize that if you're going to make a decision about whether there's an impact and whether it's is or isn't, and is it smaller, moderate, or large, in that analysis world, you have to have a baseline to compare it to. What are you comparing the delta, the change? What's the change? And in my mind, it's still a bit elusive exactly what we're comparing the proposal to. Because of this, is it the Dude Ranch as fully approved? Is it when the current applicant first got on the property?
So
Is it somewhere along the way?
let's make
That
sure,
is still unknown.
so let's make sure that we don't make believe that we're launching a rocket ship.
Right.
And we have to get every nut and bolt riveted over properly to get the rocket ship somewhere. Let's just go through it. And I think the board knows enough about this project to be able to say, look, I think with this project, the way it was described by me, the cumulative effects, they'll be able to make some determination. I have one question for you, and it's should be an easy answer. Do we need to go for the first one, impact on land? Do we need to just simply, for some of these, just say no impact on land, or are you suggesting that we go through every subcategory?
Well, I've seen clients answer the yes or no first and then go through them, or go through them and then reach the conclusion yes
So
or
what do you
no.
recommend we do?
I think in this case, we probably need to go through the sub items.
Yeah, I would.
The what items?
The sub items, the A through
Yeah.
A, in this first one,
All right,
and then decide if it's yes or no.
okay,
Yes,
everybody good with that?
yes.
Yeah.
All right, I'll do the first one, impact on land. The proposed action may involve construction on land where depth to water table is less than 3 feet.
No,
No.
Everybody
It's a-
agree with no?
It's a fact
It
that the
is.
soil type
Yeah.
does not have that situation.
Thank you. No. The proposed action may involve construction on slopes of 15% or greater. No. The proposed action may involve construction on land where bedrock is exposed or generally within 5 feet of existing ground surface.
No.
No. If I say something and you disagree, you gotta let me know. I'm just gonna keep rolling.
There are rock outcrops at the,
Near the
Great.
road.
Near the road, yep.
and also I thought there was a rock outcrop in the area where the building. Or within 5 feet of the surface. I mean, whether or not that's a significant impact,
Do you know that for a fact?
I believe that I have pictures of it.
Okay, that's a fact. All right, so you're suggesting that's moderate
No or small.
or no or small?
Mostly.
No or small, okay. So that's what we did. We did no or small. Okay. The proposed action may involve the excavation and removal of more than 1,000 tons of natural material. I don't believe that that's
No.
okay, so that's a no. The proposed action may
In fact,
involve,
they propose to cut and fill, right? Excavate and use the fill on site.
So removal means actually remove from the site, not just moving it
That's how
around.
it's been interpreted, right?
the proposed action may involve construction that continues for more than 1 year or in multiple phases. Dave, what do you recommend there?
Don't know.
We've heard you're doing it within a year.
Yeah. So no or small impact. The proposed action may result in increased erosion, whether from physical disturbance or vegetation removal.
Well, the fact is they can't.
Right. and
Right.
They will prepare.
They're not allowed
show
to,
that they
because
will.
the SWIP would have to,
Yeah. Mitigate it.
Excuse me, it's a Toyota Seneca van that the alarm keeps going off on.
well,
Okay, not mine, I know that. Okay, that's a no for F. That's a no. G, the proposed action is or may be located within a coastal, no.
no.
Any other?
Are there any others?
I don't know of any. Anybody know of any? All right, so everybody agree that impact on land is a no. Impact on geological features. I'll let you read the three and then I'm gonna make a suggestion. I'll let you read those three. Geologic features, remember. So I would say this is a no. Everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
There's no, by the way, no national natural landmark anywhere near. Closest one to my knowledge is the Palisades.
Okay, impacts on surface water. Let's go through each of the detailed ones. The proposed action may create a new water body. I would suggest no. Proposed action may result in an increase or decrease of over 10% or more than a 10-acre increase or decrease in the surface, no. Proposed action may involve dredging more than, no.
Nope.
D, the proposed action may involve construction within or returning a freshwater or tidal wetland, no. The proposed action may create turbidity in a water body, either from upland erosion, runoff, or by disturbing bottom sediments. I'm gonna look to the water people for,
I mean, it would only be if there were stormwater or some kind of other.
And they do have requirements for the SWIPs and for sediment erosion control, and they're showing them on plans.
I mean, it would only be if there was like a failure or something, but I think no.
so is everybody okay with no or small?
Yeah.
Proposed action may include construction of one or more intakes for withdrawal of water from surface water. No. You're not siphoning water out of the pond, right? No. I just had to say that one. The proposed action may include construction of one or more outfalls for discharge of wastewater to surface water. That, what I interpret that to mean is wherever the septic outfalls are, Greg, where are those septic outfalls going?
Just all of the septic outfalls are subsurface disposal.
So subsurface.
So it's subsurface. They don't have a speedies permit for discharge to the water body.
So the answer to that is no.
Yeah.
The proposed action may cause soil erosion or otherwise create a source of stormwater discharge that may lead to situations or other
Maybe the
siltation or other degradation of receiving water bodies. Greg?
And I would say no again, that with the storm, with the SWIP that they're required to have. And there's not really a receiving stream immediately.
Well, there's one in the back, but,
Couple of thousand feet.
Yeah, so I would say no.
okay. The proposed action may affect the water quality of any water bodies within or downstream of the site of the proposed action. No. The proposed action may involve the application of pesticides or herbicides in and around a water body. No. Proposed action may require the construction of new or expansion of existing wastewater treatment facilities.
That's.
That's a question.
That's a question, yeah.
That's.
So how do we answer this one, Dave? This big.
You are, put a note that says maybe.
So is that? We put a note, is it no or small, is it moderate to large?
Well, I think what you're gonna discover in some future ones. In the other categories, it's, you need more information.
So would everybody okay with putting here, need more information?
Yes, that works.
I think it's also worth the review of the interpretation because this is an impact to surface water bodies. So when they say a wastewater treatment plant, I think a wastewater treatment
discharge.
plant which discharges to a surface body.
Okay.
A septic tank, I would not consider a wastewater.
All right, so we're gonna change that.
Good
I'll
point.
recommend that
Good.
that's a
Thank you.
noticeable. in
Yes.
All right, so this category, Helena, impacts on surface water is a no. Everybody agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. That was number 3. Number 4, impact on groundwater.
You know, when you want to relate.
Okay, the proposed action may require new water supply wells or create additional demand on supplies from existing water supply wells.
Maybe.
I know, maybe.
Maybe. Is maybe the same as moderate?
Well, again, the exercise is, do you need more documentation?
Okay, so this is more documentation.
Good. That's what I explained before.
Go ahead.
If you do no or small, we're gonna be dismissing it from further secret review. If you check moderate to large may occur, that means we're going to look at it more closely and develop the information in the path 3.
Okay,
So we should
so moderate to large.
emphasis on may.
Correct.
Okay. So moderate,
Well, it's two things. One, if you don't have enough, you feel you don't have enough information to evaluate, and 2, you're concerned that in a worst case scenario with that, in terms of your lack of information, that you're gonna be looking at a potentially significant adverse impact. And again, it doesn't say we're not locked into a positive deck, means we're gonna do more work to develop that information. But,
Okay.
in other words, if it was trivial, you still wouldn't say, if you thought it was trivial, you still wouldn't say moderate to large, but if it's, substantial and you don't understand it well, that's when you get to a moderate to large.
okay.
Great, could I just add something?
Yeah.
You'll find, for the board members, you'll find that embedded in this process, this exercise, there's a lot of language like potential for impacts. May require, it's not definitive in any way.
Yes.
And that's the point here, and we'll get the same, when we get to a declaration of significance, the neg deck says there's not going to be any, and a pos deck says there might be a significant adverse impact, and we need to do more in terms of an EIS, right? Now, it's just a question, we need to do more in terms of a part 3.
Yes.
Next one, B, water supply demand from the proposed action may exceed safe and sustainable withdrawal capacity. I would say that's a moderate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aquifer protection overlay district.
The proposed action may allow or result in residential uses in areas without water and sewer services. I don't know how to, that's a no.
No, it's not residential.
The proposed action may include or require wastewater discharge to groundwater.
That's a moderate.
That's a moderate. The proposed action may result in the construction of water supply wells in locations where groundwater is or suspected to be contaminated. No. No or small? Proposed action may require the bulk storage of petroleum. No.
1, 2, 3.
The proposed action may involve the commercial application of pesticides within 100 feet of potable water. No. So on this one, impact on groundwater, we came up with 3 moderates, so I would say that this is a yes.
Right.
What zoning, sorry?
Regards the petroleum and chemical. Okay, requires the bulk storage petroleum. Do we know what kind of heating gonna be there? Is it oil or
What kind of what?
heating?
Yeah, I don't know if we ever found out what the capacity is of their oil tanks.
So is that,
Because, and it is in the aquifer protection overlay district. They may need, what you're saying, and they may need a bulk petroleum permit
That's great.
registration.
Really good point.
Well, the issue again here is they exist. We were back there, right?
Not sure what those are. I don't know. I think we've asked, I may have asked to see if they have
It's
registrations.
this
and they have
critical
not
question
provided.
about what, are you examining what is proposed or what exists?
well, we're doing both.
Well, that's your call. I'm just proposing that we need to know what bulk heating oil
Right.
storage exists and is permitted.
Well, they register, yeah.
Right, so I think the issue is.
Well, I'm using the term permitted broadly. It's.
Yeah, okay.
All right, so you would suggest that we make that a moderate,
I'm just saying, again, we need more information to.
so that's a
answer that.
moderate then.
Yeah.
Okay, impact on flooding. The proposed action may result in development in designated floodway,
Okay.
no or small.
No.
No.
The floodways north and east of there.
Okay, thank you.
There is no oil, they use propane.
They use propane. Okay, that was easy.
Are you proposing that?
Yeah. Going forward? We
Are you
Staying with
proposing?
propane?
We're staying with propane, right? Yes. Staying with.
All right, so that goes,
There's no proposed action with regard to.
so that goes back to no or small impact. Okay,
I might leave that. I could have sworn it was,
Well, you just need to document it, that
Yes,
that's the case,
okay.
right?
B on under 5, the proposed action may result in development within a 100-year floodplain. Greg, I don't think there's any floodplains here.
Not where they're proposing development.
No, okay, no or small. The proposed action may result in development within a 500-year. Well, if it didn't do a 100-year, then it's probably not gonna do a 500-year, so no. Proposed action may result in or require modification of existing drainage patterns. Greg? Wasn't that an issue that the drainage patterns are changing?
Well, no, because the last SWIP, they modified that and they're showing the drainage patterns to be consistent with what exists. So they're not showing changes in drainage pattern. Based on the most recent SWIP, or
The first
Yes.
SWIP, the first SWIP did show a change.
correct, the first plan showed the drainage to go towards the road. Where the existing drainage goes back towards the pond, the most recent submittal shows drainage going back towards the pond.
Okay, so that's gonna be a no or small, and
Yeah.
of course, when we go through. The actual conditions or the actual, we need to make sure that that drainage plan. Is the one that they gave us,
Yes,
so that's no or small impact. Proposed action may change flood water flows that contribute to flooding, no. If there's a dam, no. Okay, so number 5, does everybody agree that that's a no?
Agree.
Okay. Dave, do you want to pick up number 6 and then I'll pick it up again at.
Sure.
Okay.
If the proposed action requires federal or state air emissions permits, the action may also emit one or more of the greenhouse gases at above or the following. I don't think it requires air permits from anybody.
So all these are no.
Yeah.
Does everybody agree?
Yes.
Go ahead, Dave.
Proposed action will generate 10 tons per year or more of one designated hazardous air pollutant.
No.
Proposed action may require a state air registration or may produce emissions rate of total contaminants that may exceed 5 pounds per hour, etc. That's a no.
Okay.
Proposed action may reach 50% of any of the thresholds in A through C. That's
No.
proposed action may result in the combustion or thermal treatment of more than 1 ton of refuge per hour.
No. So number 6 is, everybody agree that that's a no?
Yes.
Okay. Impact on plants and animals. Go ahead, Dave.
A, the proposed action may cause reduction in population or loss of individuals of any threatened or endangered species as listed by that use the site or are found on or near the site. I think we've done research in the EAF, right? There's no known threatened or endangered species.
So that's a no or small impact?
B, proposed action may result in the reduction or degradation of a habitat used by a rare, threatened, or endangered species as listed by New York State or federal government.
There were no hits on the.
No hits.
So that's no or small.
Proposed action may cause reduction in population or loss of individuals of any species of special concern or conservation need as listed by New York State or the federal government. So this is your northern long-eared bat.
I don't think
They
the
cut
action,
trees.
Yeah.
You cutting trees?
Yes.
they're cutting trees, but none of those trees that I know of are habitats for bats, those particular trees.
Along the road,
Yeah.
No, up on top, they're pines.
There's a handful of larger specimen trees, right, that are kind of where the building was proposed.
So the, only where the building is, but we.
Yeah.
know,
And
And
those are-
remember, the control mechanism is seasonal cutting, so it's.
Yeah, this is a no. Everybody okay?
Yeah,
D,
D, the proposed action may result in a reduction or degradation of any habitat used by any species of special concern or conservation need. Again, the species of concern here is the northern long-eared bat or bald eagle.
so we have no hits on any of the forms that we've gotten from the DEC, so that's a no.
E, the proposed action may diminish the capacity of a registered national natural landmark. There aren't any in Ulster County.
Okay, so that's no.
The proposed action may result in the removal of or ground disturbance in any portion of a designated significant natural community.
No,
And you have to cite the source.
so that's a no.
G, the proposed action may substantially interfere with nesting, breeding, foraging, or overwintering habitat for the predominant species that occupy or use the project site.
No,
H, proposed action requiring the conversion of more than 10 acres of forest, or that's a no. I, proposed action involves use of herbicides or pesticides.
no. So this number 7 is a no. Keep going, Dick.
Okay, impact on agricultural resources. Proposed action may impact soil classified within soil group 1 through 4 of the New York Land Classification System.
What do you-
So that site's pretty much disturbed, right? Right?
Okay,
Yes.
so no or small.
Those are prime ag soils, except.
Number
B,
B,
proposed action may sever, cross, or otherwise limit access to agricultural land.
no.
C, proposed action may result in the excavation or compaction of the soil profile of active agricultural land.
No,
D, proposed action may irreversibly convert agricultural land to non-agricultural uses.
no, that's a no.
E, proposed action may disrupt or prevent installation of an agricultural land management system.
No,
F, the proposed action may result directly or indirectly in increased development potential or pressure on farmland.
no,
G, the proposed project is not consistent with the adopted municipal farmland protection plan,
no,
which to my knowledge you don't have.
we don't have. Number 8, everybody agrees a no? Number 9, Dave.
Okay, here we go. Impact on aesthetic resources. A, proposed action may be visible from any officially designated federal, state, or local scenic or aesthetic resource. The closest one would be the scenic byway, and I'm not convinced it's visible from Route 209. Is it?
no,
no, but from the lookouts, it would be,
Yeah.
From the,
from the scenic byway.
and then Wasco.
well, we don't know that, right?
What's that?
We don't know you'd see the proposed building from there.
We need
We'd have to find out, right?
visual assessment.
I thought we
What
had
you
some
wanna do?
pictures at one time and
They were ones that I recall, unless they were replaced for
inconclusive.
inconclusive, but
All right, so let's put moderate.
You want more information, basically. Okay.
Moderate. Go ahead.
From, and in this case, Stacy footnote from the 4455, right?
Scenic
Overlook. B, proposed action may result in the obstruction, elimination, or significant screening of one or more officially designated scenic views. C, the proposed action may be visible from publicly accessible vantage points. Subsect, little I, seasonally, that is screened by summer foliage but not visible during other seasons? Or year round?
I don't argue year on.
Well, is that
What is vintage point in this case?
It's not defined.
is it include?
So can we take 4455 as the end that?
Well, this is like another project you have where these sort of inventoried resources versus things that are locally appreciated.
Right.
You're gonna have to make a decision if you want to stick with. It's publicly accessible vantage points would be,
Like Cherrytown
would
Road,
be the road.
yeah.
Oh, yes.
No, it's
I
Cherrytown
think
Road.
we need more information.
So it's moderate
Okay.
to large. For both.
See, the B is officially designated, right?
Right, that's where.
C is it's similar to another project we're not talking about. It's kind of the low, this is it a resource category, right, that's been
Right.
so designated.
And D is the local,
The Cherrytown Road isn't designated as scenic,
no, but it's.
but it is a vantage point.
Right,
So moderate,
but undergoes evaluation, I mean, it's not the same, if you're on Cherrytown Road, it's not the same as seeing it from a park or something like
okay,
that.
so for purposes of number C, these two questions. Little I, little 2I is yes,
You see, it'll, yeah.
is moderate. Okay, keep going, Dave.
We're ready?
We're up to D.
D, the situation or activity in which viewers are engaged while viewing the proposed action is little I, routine travel by residents, including travel to and from work. That's true. That's a yes, for sure.
Yes.
Is it small or moderate? And or recreational tourism based activity.
Well, that would be.
So for little I, it's moderate to large. What about for 2I?
If as well, because tourists traveling in cars. Looking around, it's about how you see.
Well,
I mean, that'd be true anywhere, I mean, tourists drive. Well, I mean,
that seems low to me.
that's not fair.
So you think.
We okay with that or all right? Keep going?
Are we taking into account with these that part of the application is requiring and landscaping that will literally hide the building from the road? I would say that with the landscaping that's proposed, adult tree, you're not seeing this project in 4455.
So those are the mitigations as a
Yeah.
result of the.
This
Yeah.
puts us into part 3, what you just said is going to be a factor in the evaluation, otherwise we just don't deal with it at all, but this. That puts us in part 3, that's why it's
It's like,
important.
do I have this right? Is this a good way of saying it? Like, this tells us where we should have a header in the document, where we should talk about it versus we don't talk about it at all.
Go ahead, Dave. Number E,
The proposed action may cause a diminishment of the public enjoyment or appreciation of the designated aesthetic resource. The issue is there's nothing
There's no
designated.
designated aesthetic resource.
okay, so that's a no or small. Dave, explain designated resource.
Designated resource is parallel to inventoried resource that we've talked about with the other project where it's on a list kept by the town, the state, the county, the
So for
federal
example,
government. It's
so for example,
there's scenic areas of statewide significance that New York State
give
keeps.
examples, specific examples.
The ridge,
Yes,
yeah,
the
the
Ridge,
Ridge, sure.
Mohawk, Minnewaska.
Correct.
Okay, so this is a no, because that's not a designated.
Hudson River shoreline is a state designated scenic
certain
resource.
certain areas.
Right.
The gunks,
There are similar projects visible within the following distance of the proposed project. 0 to half mile to 3 mile, 3 to 5 mile, and 5+ mile.
well, there is a project down the road. Peter, what is that, a half a mile down the road?
Which one?
The other camp going west, southwest?
The other camp up Cherrytown Road?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is it visible?
from the road.
I think.
No, but
sim-
is it visible from here?
I think the similarity here, Dave, correct me if I'm wrong, it's, and the critical issue here for, in terms of the visual impacts, the aesthetic resources is not the camp use, it's the size of the size of the building, right? And that's what we're talking about. Is there anything?
Yeah, I think it's a context question, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can see this, but can you see other things just like it nearby?
Not from here.
Not from here, I mean, in these routine travels.
How far do you have to go from that building to find something similar to it?
In terms of the proposed building or in terms of the current camp?
The proposed.
Proposed.
It's, you're not gonna see anything because there is nothing similar, so it's a no. Okay,
Okay,
number 9 is a no. I'm sorry, number 9 is a yes. Sorry, lost my head. Impact on historic and archaeological resources. I'll pick up here, Dave.
if you like.
The proposed action may occur wholly or partially within or substantially contiguous to any buildings, archaeological site or district which is listed on national. This is, Dave, this is a yes.
Yes, the farmstead is on the National Register of Historic Places, the property immediately north and west.
Right. So moderate,
Moderate.
That's the whole property, not just the house.
The
Yes.
whole parcel, correct.
B, the proposed action may occur wholly or partially within or substantially contiguous to an area designated or as sensitive for archaeological sites on the New York State Historic, on SHPO's archaeological site inventory.
No,
We
we
did
got a
SHPO,
memo.
there was- we
Got a
got no
SHPO
vote.
memo, it says no.
Okay. The proposed action may occur wholly or partially within or substantially contiguous to an archaeological site not included in the New York State SHPO inventory.
It's the cemetery.
Cemetery.
The cemetery, yeah. So is that
But they're
no
not
or,
doing it.
no or small impact?
I would say yes, only because you need to talk about it. Or if it,
So you would recommend moderate?
yeah,
I would agree
I think, because I think we were saying that. We would not want them to disturb that area, but it's
Correct.
not regulated by the state, so we need to make sure that there's no disturbance of the cemetery. So
Okay, so moderate.
I would agree with it.
So that category is a yes. Category number 2.
I think there's one.
You got any,
No, sorry.
it's a weird format of the form, but
Where is E?
they, there's an E added after D impacts. If any of the above are answered moderate or large.
I see. If any, okay. Continue with the following question to help support conclusions in part 3. I, the proposed action may result in the destruction or alteration of all or part of the site or property. No or small. The proposed action may result in the alteration of the property's setting or integrity. No or small. The proposed action may result in the introduction of visual elements which are out of character with the site or property or may alter its setting. Moderate?
Yeah.
Again, relates to historic and archaeological features. It's not just that it's aesthetic, it's got an aesthetic impact, which we acknowledged earlier.
Well,
It's related to historic and archaeological resources.
Specifically, if I heard correctly, the cemetery, is this going to damage the visual appreciation of the cemetery? Small or moderate to large potentially?
do we include the farm? Adjacent farm, is that on?
And we include the farm in the
Yeah.
previous one?
That's on the national, right?
That's right.
Yeah, although SHPO said there's no impact.
Yeah, we would talk about it.
I'm just telling you, you have enough record from the professional in the state that said there's no impact.
All right, so let's just pause this for a minute. This is section E, which is meant to elaborate on the previous sections. We already determined that this was a yes for this section number 10.
On the aesthetics.
Yeah, yes. So I don't know that it makes a difference.
No, I'm not.
Impact on historic.
It has a.
Yeah.
You're, the one resource of note is the cemetery. and the adjoining farm.
All right, so on E triple I. Do I have a,
Yes.
we have a yes,
That's
But we have
a moderate?
Yeah, I think it needs discussion.
Okay, here we go.
So section 10 is a yes, correct?
Yes,
Correct.
the whole section is a yes. Impact on open space and recreation. A, proposed action may result in an impairment of natural functions or ecosystem services provided by an undeveloped area. This is not in undeveloped, so we know. We good?
Yeah.
Proposed action may result in the loss of a current or future recreation resource. No. Proposed action may eliminate open space, recreational resources. No. Proposed action may result in a loss of an area now used informally by the community. No. So this is a no. Number 11 is no.
Yep.
Impact on critical environmental areas.
There are no critical environmental.
We have no
areas. So
CE.
It's a list of properties that the New York State DEC maintains.
So this is no by
There aren't
virtue
any in the town.
that we don't have any designated CEA. Number 13, impact on transportation. Projected traffic increase may exceed capacity of existing road network.
Unknown.
Needs to need discussion.
I think
Yeah.
that's discussion.
Moderate?
Yeah.
Okay. Proposed action may result in
Why is
construction.
that, why is that matter? The application will have no increase in population, so why
They
is it
they've got public testimony that there's traffic concerns.
for existing use? Not for. this
Today,
project.
yes.
For today.
But there's no building there, so we were not bringing on any new population for the building.
This is the baseline problem. If there's an existing problem,
This gets to
we
the
have to
issue.
establish what you're comparing the new proposal to.
This gets to the issue of the cumulative effects. We're looking at the cumulative effects of what's happened all along.
But all the questions are about proposed action. The proposed action, the building will do this, the proposed action will do that, and you're talking about other things here, not the proposed action.
But we don't have a data what's gonna be there, it's all words, it's not nothing documented. So we need to investigate.
Well,
So I feel, if I may, I feel like the state environmental quality review requirements consider things like cumulative impacts, but they also talk about something called segmentation, which is where things change in a piecemeal way. And so sometimes things are segmented, whether intentionally or unintentionally. And the idea of looking at cumulative impacts, part of the intent of that is to understand all of the changes taken together. And one of the questions on here were asked if you could see something nearby is getting at the idea of a cumulative impact. So maybe, and it doesn't apply necessarily to this case, but that's why it asks the question, because it's trying to understand what there's a cumulative impact.
so you're suggesting, and I'll come back to what Mr. Trent said, but you're suggesting that we're looking. There's an existing problem that's existed. That has been noted by the public. And this doesn't change what's happening right now, but what's happening right now are complaints by the public that there's traffic issues. They may be intermittent traffic issues, but there are traffic issues.
So, well, and this board has not reviewed the use of the site, that's 770 people. So it would seem appropriate to understand how much more traffic, what the current use is, can the roads, I don't know the answer to that.
I guess what it's saying.
But you want to understand if the existing town roads are designed to accommodate traffic for.
Well, if I agree, but maybe Greg can. Capacities measured by the operational realities of the intersections.
Yes.
I don't. It's the A, B, C, D. We went through this with the proposed
Levels of
convenience
service.
store. I don't know what the status is of your knowledge of if the intersection of Sampsonville Road and Cherrytown's functional or not.
So I think the community and this board, I've heard from this board of community that. Traffic is quote unquote bad, whatever that means. There's a lot of traffic at different times of the year. So this question seems to get at the issue of what are the traffic impacts and how can you mitigate them?
Or are there any potential traffic impacts?
Yes,
And if there are. I think the question,
so
if I may, for the applicant is what can you document to provide the board that there's gonna be no increase of traffic?
Well, but could I add beyond that? Was the site entrance designed for this capacity and is it a safe entry? Right, so that would be one thing that a traffic analysis would want to understand is does the existing site. And we have no idea that it could be, it may not be.
so this again gets to the whole point of,
So if I could, I think that if there would be an increase of traffic as a result of this project, it would be. How are you delivering your food product to the place? Because there's no additional traffic as a result of having a dining room there. It's really just a question of the. So I think that we will add information to our document that will show what the traffic flow is as a result of this building.
okay, so you're agreeing that it's a yes.
It requires additional information, so.
So
They did present,
No,
right,
but
was
the-
you presented, you're gonna shift the service, right, the
Yes.
truck service to a fuller access road with fuller turnaround, right?
Yes, we have given it to you already, but we'll.
Southwest of where the current one is, I think, right?
okay, so number 13, Dave, is gonna be a yes.
Okay,
Number 14, impact on energy. The proposed action will require a new or upgrade to existing substation. No. Proposed action will require the creation or extension of energy transmission. No. Proposed action may utilize more than 25 megawatts.
Megawatt hours.
Megawatt hours per year. I would say that's no. Proposed action may involve heating or cooling of more than 100,000 square feet of building area when complete. No. So this is a no. Impact on energy.
How do we know about substation? None of us are electrical engineers. So how do we know it's not gonna affect the new building? Power demand?
Well, I look at the number 2,500 megawatt hours.
No, I'm talking about substation.
I mean, I had a job we had put in the substation, it was a lot of energy.
Right.
Like a lot.
So saying it's under.
So I think.
You're an electrician, so.
No, I'm not. I'm mechanic.
All right, so impact on energy is a
It's
no.
about the requirement of 300 houses. I did an electric study for my house, so that's what it is.
Okay, are we okay with that being a no?
Yes.
Okay. No, a no.
I
Number
agree.
15,
want me to relieve you, Greg?
yes, why don't you do that?
Noise and odor or light. A proposed action may produce sound above noise levels established by local regulation.
No or small?
You've got your 5 and 10 decibel above ambient
At the property.
standard
At the
property
property.
at the property line.
Which is right there.
I know that there's been complaints from the public that we heard about
That's
noise.
It could be argued it can't,
But
because your code requires that it doesn't.
right. And all of those situations, I think we decided those were police matters, in terms of the amount of noise. They had to be referred to, there was a noise disturbance, and so it had to be referred to the gendarmes. This refers to something's running permanently that exceeds what the town has as their maximum sound, and there's nothing happening. Oh, you know what? Wait a minute, air conditioning, the air conditioning units and the refrigeration units.
That, and I think that we all agreed that there was not gonna be any loudspeakers, right? So that would you would wanna put that in there as well, that there would. It would like.
All right,
be a
so
determination.
why don't
If you look, say that the outdoor event phenomena, right? If you had an applicant in front of you that wanted an outdoor venue that would be amplified, they would confess that they were going to exceed that 5 or 10 above ambient level, right? And they want a variance. or
Nobody
something, right?
confesses to anything. They have to.
You would discover that. They're not proposing to do anything, nor would you allow them to.
Okay, so the one thing that does come to mind, we talked about air conditioning units, refrigeration units, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, creating enough noise to be of a disturbance to the neighbors. So I would say that that's no small impact, or if you feel it's moderate. I mean, this category is gonna be a yes because it has light.
Well, and I think for noise, you would want a section talking about noise on site.
About how they're gonna handle the air conditioning units and all that, which they've already told us they're gonna put in the courtyard behind the building, but. So why don't we tick off moderate and we'll deal with it in terms of how to mitigate that noise that's coming
And
from.
ultimately, some of those representations from the applicant are gonna end up, it's presuming the board accepts them as mitigations. They're gonna end up in site plan approval as conditions, so you wanna carry that information forward, make sure it's developed.
Okay.
Because if for some reason it didn't work out right in terms of the condition being locked in or whatever, it could increase the sound of the property going more than 5 or 10 dB, so we wanna get it in there. And then we'll get the mitigation, laid out and then, move forward. There's an information.
So this is moderate.
The camps have tendency make announcement through the speaker, posted on a post, on the poles.
We just talked about that.
No outdoor speakers.
They're not gonna have any speakers.
It'll be in the.
Okay, so no announcement on the property?
Well, that's what we talked about, and we're not solving the problem now, we're pointing
No,
out
no, I
what might be a
understand.
problem, and then we need to talk about how it gets mitigated.
In order to monitor that.
So number B, so we did that as moderate, okay, thanks. Rick.
B, the proposed action may result in blasting within
The-
1,500, there's no blasting proposed, right? But C, the proposed action may result in routine odors for more than 1 hour per day.
No,
D, the proposed action may result in light shining onto adjoining properties.
that's a yet moderate.
E, the proposed action may result in lighting and creating sky glow brighter than existing area conditions.
And that's a moderate. So for this one, impact number 15, we're saying that that's a yes. Okay,
Impact on human health. Proposed action is located within 1,500 feet of a school, hospital, licensed day center, daycare center, group home, nursing home, or retirement community.
no,
B, site of the proposed action is currently undergoing remediation.
no,
C, there is a completed emergency spill remediation or a completed environmental site remediation on or adjacent to the site proposed. No.
no,
D, the site of the action is subject to an institutional control limiting the use of the property. That is an easement or deed restriction.
no,
E, the proposed action may affect institutional control measures that were put in place to ensure the site remains protective of the environment and human health.
no,
F, the proposed action has adequate control measures in place to ensure that future generation, treatment, or disposal of hazardous waste will be protective of the.
no,
G, the proposed action involves construction or modification of a solid waste management facility.
no,
H, proposed action may result in the unearthing of solid or hazardous waste.
no,
I, the proposed action may result in an increase in the rate of disposal or processing of solid waste.
no,
J, the proposed action may result in excavation and or disturbance within 2,000 feet of a site used for the disposal of
No.
waste. K, the proposed action may result in the mitigation of explosive gases from a landfill.
No.
L, sorry. The proposed action may result in the release of contaminated leachate.
no.
No.
So does everybody agree that this is a no? And
17, consistency with community plans. A, proposed actions, land use components may be different from or in sharp contrast to the surrounding land use pattern.
Yes.
Yes.
Moderate.
Yeah.
The proposed action will, I'll pick it up, Dave.
Okay,
The proposed action will cause the permanent population of the city, town, and village to grow more than 5%. No. Proposed action is inconsistent with local land use plans or zoning regulations. No. Proposed action is inconsistent with any county plans or other regional. No. The proposed action may cause a change in the density of development that is not supported by existing infrastructure or is distant from existing infrastructure. Dave Gordon, help me with this one.
Well, what they're looking for here primarily is whether or not this is gonna overload existing infrastructure. Now,
And they're.
what did Selena say?
Is it Republicans, the pressure?
Well, that's bingo. Typically, this would mean public infrastructure. Here, they're proposing to reuse an existing septic system. Oh, it says public infrastructure.
Yeah.
No, wait, there's E and F, and they say different things.
E is existing
Yeah,
infrastructure.
F says public infrastructure, which would be, he doesn't say public, so let's, there's a variety of legal canons of legal construction that say we can assume it's something else, so private infrastructure, and that tends to push in a particular direction here. I
Right.
think.
So
Right?
moderate.
well, it's the active phrase is, will it cause a change in the density of development?
May cause a change.
Well, then you're back to your
That is
baseline,
not
aren't you?
supported by existing infrastructure or is distant from.
Yeah, but is it gonna, may it cause a change in density?
You know, here's my thought. Everything that DEC does with these forms, they do their best, but it doesn't, it's not meant to fit every particular situation and needs to be adapted. And this particular form, you know, like I said, if we were to choose moderate to large, it means we're gonna develop information. So the question really for the board, look, you know, we can parse the words, you know, till God knows what hour tonight. But is this an area where the board is interested in further information as to whether a change in the density of development, and again, the baseline here is whatever it is, we haven't nailed it down yet. Is it, that's not supported, it's not supported by existing infrastructure. And so it's up to the board to determine whether you want to hear more about this particular issue.
I personally think we should figure that out, that issue.
So infrastructure referring to water and septic.
I think you could assume the septic system is existing
Roads,
infrastructure.
electric,
I think you already have water and sewer under a different section, so you don't really need it here.
The title here is consistent with community plans, right? So it suggests public.
Well, yeah, but F says public.
Yeah, and then distant from existing infrastructure would be distant from our own infrastructure, so that distance from water and sewer in communities.
So in my experience, a lot of times, if you have a yes in a different category, you will carry it over. Just to ensure that you're doing apples to apples, so that what you say in one place is consistent with what you say in another place.
So in the other place, we said moderate.
So for example, if we say yes, maybe traffic, yes, maybe water and sewer, then you might talk about those findings in this section. To the extent that it's relevant for community.
I mean, the other point is that this is primarily, to the extent we're talking about this septic system, it's of course primarily a groundwater protection issue, and council's point is that it's in community plans. I don't think, this is all about developing more information, so we're dancing on the head of a pin a little bit. It's up to the board. Jennifer's got a good point that you want to carry these issues forward. You know, the information may develop that this has nothing to do with community plans, but it may have to do with, you know, groundwater issues. So it's, you know, it's really up to you. Again, these, you know, DEC's tried to do the best job they can, anticipating the variety of impacts, and it's gonna hit each project differently. And, you know, I don't think we need to debate it at full. I think we're gonna look at this particular issue.
All right, so
in
let's-
the context.
Moderate.
Not
Okay. F, proposed action is located in an area characterized by low density development that will require new or expanded public infrastructure. There is gonna be no new public infrastructure, so that's a no.
Sewer waters and.
Okay. The proposed action may induce secondary development impacts. Proposed action may induce, I don't know.
Means if you're building a huge subdivision, you're likely to get more retail downtown. so it can.
So I think this one is yes. What do you think? This is a yes. And then the last one, consistency with community character. The proposed action may replace or eliminate existing facility structures or areas. No. Proposed action may create a demand for additional community services, e.g. schools, police, and fire. No. Proposed action may displace affordable or low-income housing in an area where there is a shortage. No. Proposed action may interfere with the use or enjoyment of officially recognized or designated public resources. No. Proposed action is inconsistent with the predominant architectural scale and character. I think that's moderate.
That's mine.
Yeah.
Proposed action is inconsistent with the character of the existing natural landscape. No?
Where?
So this is,
Dorian has,
Yeah, I want to take you back to, and it's actually to Peter Fire. Yes,
where are you, Zoria?
I don't really.
Fire,
It's gonna cause a demand for additional community services in terms of fire.
770 people on the site. Fire department ready to save them if something happens there?
It's what we're dealing with now.
What does that mean?
It means it's unknown.
You said, what does it mean you're dealing with it
The
now?
population now is what it is.
No, but is there inducement of fire services now?
Has it been once?
Does the fire department have to slow down there?
We have had to go, yeah. We have.
So you're capable to manage it, essentially, this was quick. I think this is what.
Well, I think part of until we see a final plan, it's hard for me to know. It's hard for.
so we need more information.
Yeah.
We're gonna need more information, is that correct?
Fire safety.
Right,
Fire
the
safety.
bottom line is though, building this building will make the facility far safer in terms of what you're using now for kitchens. You're gonna have a state of the art kitchen in this building, so it actually is small.
But you'd also have more people in one area at one time, which is a bigger challenge.
And the building is bigger than the existing
Yeah.
building, or potentially.
Yeah.
So Zurian, what number was that under?
It was,
B,
18B.
18B.
All right, so we're changing that to moderate?
Yeah.
Okay. Does everybody agree? Yeah.
And another point, Dave Church, in his comments that the comments from the Town Historic Preservation Committee.
Right.
And other public hearing comments. Can you elaborate on this?
I'm sorry, what?
In your comments to 18. You mentioned there's several different points and you mentioned from your perspective, it might be a yes.
You talking about A, Hans? 18A?
Yeah.
Well, it says replace, the verbs are replace or eliminate.
I refer to what.
Right.
Just wrote here, so.
My point being,
I think you need to look at E.
Yeah.
That, not A or B. E.
Yeah, I
The
think
proposed
E.
action is inconsistent with the predominant architectural scale and character, and that's where we got the letter from the town preservation. Historic.
Right.
Preservation, yeah,
I'm corrected, it's E that.
yes.
You wrote E.
Yeah, you wrote it.
Right, yes.
Yeah.
So you referred this to the Historic Preservation Committee and they commented on the neighborhood character issue, right?
Yeah.
Yes, they did. So
And what? and-
mine's number
and
E is.
encouraged, so E is clearly.
Moderate to large.
Moderate.
I just wanted to make sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, so number 18 is a yes. Okay.
So you've got 7 yeses.
Okay.
I would suggest that the board pass a resolution authorizing your consultant planner to prepare a part 3 that analyzes these issues.
I make a motion.
I second it.
Can you say that one
You
more
can't
time?
make the, you can't make the motion.
He made the
That's
motion.
what I
No,
think.
Hans makes motion.
Hans, are you making the
the
motion? And would you, let's
Yeah.
repeat the motion. The motion is to employ our consultant, Dave Church, to prepare
Part 3.
part 3.
Of.
And add to that with the assistance of at least 2 or 3 other people who I know have been looking at this, so.
Well, may I note on the On 3 and 4, I'll need help if possible from the town engineer.
Yes,
Yes.
I'll expand the resolution to say. Such help as he may need to complete part 3 will be made available. All right, so Hans, you made that
And I
resolution?
I made that resolution.
You made the second? Helena?
I seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay, so council, our next step is for us to develop the part 3. I don't expect that that's gonna be done much before March 9th. Dave,
Today, February 9th.
it'll be a month from now.
A month?
You need a month, you need 2 weeks, what do you need?
Yeah,
Can you
and
do
you
it?
want to need it a week before that.
We'd like it a week before
Yeah.
that, so we can.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, we'll do the best I can.
Okay,
Anyone
we'll
else
have a,
panicking?
sorry,
Anyone else in the room panicking that has been volunteered to help? I
I can help you.
I can help you.
Didn't I,
think Jennifer,
haven't I already offered?
Felina and Greg were in on this, right? And
all right, so we'll work that out, so May 9th, May 9th,
May.
March 9th.
If they're gonna help you, I'm not panicking.
Excellent.
And we
And
need to
May
get
9th.
that a week ahead of time so we can distribute it to the applicant.
The applicant's aware of where we answered yes, so. It would be of assistance to provide additional information that.
That's a good point, if you can provide additional information.
Gentlemen, if your clients can get us more information, we could.
We'll point
Incorporate
out,
this into that.
right, and that can go to,
Like the next week.
Jeff, any information that comes from you all to us should go to myself and Dave,
Well, shouldn't go to.
Stacy,
Yeah, Stacy.
I can
yes,
distribute it,
just the
so
yes
send it to
question.
me.
and to Stacy, she'll distribute it.
Stacy, when do you think you can get the rough minutes to them?
Tomorrow,
The post meeting letter.
I can at least get a post meeting letter tomorrow.
Sure,
Oh.
Yes,
okay,
So Jeff, you could have her minutes or draft minutes on this.
minutes by the end of the week, but post meeting letter I can do tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
They're basically done now, but. Oh.
isn't it great to have an administrative assistant?
Yes, it is.
Oh, great.
I take them as.
All right, does the applicant have any questions for us or comments?
You want to correct, you want to change them?
You're gonna reopen the public hearing,
Okay, I'm
you're
sorry,
gonna reopen the public hearing for the March meeting, I believe, there's no need to. Knock this into April, we can,
the question is. Are we going to open up the public hearing for March 9th? I think. On March 9th, we're gonna be going through part 3. The public will see it because we'll post it a week ahead of time. I have no problem opening up the public hearing at that time, certainly not. And then, what we usually do, a public hearing happens up front. Whatever other public hearings we have, and then later on in the agenda, we discuss. Either the public hearing or. Appropriately, the material that's been developed, so
Yeah.
we will have the public hearing on the 9th. Continuation. Stacy, make a note of that, continuation of the public hearing on the 9th. Yes.
Also, depending on the outcome of the part 3, your decision on what to do with it. You may be required to have a 30-day comment period.
Yes. Let's leave that alone until you and Dave.
What's that?
Okay, let's leave that alone until you, Dave, and myself walk through the various steps from part 2 to part 3. This is a whole bunch of steps. This is the first time, well, it's not the first time, but the complexity of this is much more than we've done before. So you're
Right.
right, we may have to do that.
Basement bacon.
So if you can provide documentation about how you're gonna address these or go on record to say you're going to address certain things, we can incorporate that into the response to the board.
Specifics, right?
And Jeff, you know what, during the course, as you're thinking through what we did tonight, if you need further information. More technical information, you're free to call. my father over here,
Dave Church.
Dave Church, thank you. Or even Greg. That's what
I
happens.
don't know if
when
there's a
it's-
chronology works, so maybe in your father.
Please.
It's the other way, it's the other way around. Hang on one second, or, hang on one second, or Greg, our engineer. Sorry, Helena.
Jeff, Mr. Kaplan mentioned that the project has been scaled down to 19,000 square feet, 1 floor, basement vacant. Do we have those plans?
No,
Yes.
what the question was, do we have the plans that reflect the new? Do we have those?
I don't know, I have not.
I don't. So
The latest plan that we
that's
have,
the latest that we have, whatever's that
In
packet.
here?
That's the latest I
I
have in
don't think
that
there's even a
packet.
floor plan. Oh.
And this
There's no
shows
floor
dining
plan.
facility, 2,000 square feet.
There's no elevations.
So it's different than
Yeah.
what Jeff mentioned.
You got it. We'll update. Thank you, Linda.
Huh? Excuse me?
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
6 copies.
I mean, we do, Jeff, we do have lots of plans.
30-day comment period.
You have the same plans. If you have something, and we just said, ours is quite old, give us.
I'm gonna be some,
Yeah.
we'll update.
This one, the one we have here is 22,000 square feet. He was taken off another 3,000.
Yeah.
So you need to have whatever the changes are.
And date, date
Date the revisions.
date the revision. And also, on this, there's an overall site survey. I don't think I don't think the sheets are, no, the sheets aren't numbered either. But the site survey has no information on it. It has lots of shapes and stuff, but it doesn't have any information.
So you know what? Dave brings up a good point. We do have some plans, but they're quite old, go back to April or May, I think. And there were multiple sheets, there were like 16 different sheets, 14 different sheets. First page was X, second page was 1, all sorts of sheets, but they're old. And we also had sheets of the layout, the interior layout. So why don't you get us a whole new plan set? The latest and greatest plan set, we've talked about that before.
Is that true?
Okay.
Thank you.
You're not going back to Mr. Trent, you're not going back to DC tonight, are you?
I'm gonna see the mom in Jersey.
Oh, good.
That's a
Good for
closer,
you.
correct?
Watch the deer.
We'll get some, you can enjoy our weather.
We're gonna take a 10-minute break. The next project is
Well,
Verizon.
actually, you know what the snow is? They're not.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
I know, but it just strikes me as odd.
Getting over it.
I was outside with the fire.
Dick told me it's supposed to be an event anyway.
Oh,
Right. You know, is that part of the reason why the courts? All those issues.
Yeah, we're gonna have to, let me. Let's.
How many copies did I need?
Oh.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
See?
I don't know, if not, I'm gonna print one now.
Oh, we do.
2, 3,
Because I bought a lot of
4,
earrings.
6,
I was thinking.
Today. Yeah. Send out the receiving letter. I can go.
I thought you were older.
They were, you want, Governor wants to, for housing.
Well,
See that?
well, there, the attitude of many people, including certainly, is just the face of everybody, you can see from that, what's
Yeah, I've got.
It's not
Last.
the whole thing. So we never got the positions to do this. And
Yeah.
you know, still.
I mean, yeah, it's, we're not,
I thought I needed.
no consensus.
I'm on the board about with that.
I don't think, we had, well, I'm looking around the day.
Okay, well,
They're fine that it's,
does this.
everything's fine, except dining, right?
Well, no, they're not saying every, well, Jeff steps in a pile of shit, busy play back to the true. Pine Grove.
Not
And I
what
got him on that.
Correct.
And that's fine. Their attitude is.
And being the worst perspective,
It's taking a substandard dining hall and making it a better dining.
They don't pay,
We're not changing any numbers of food has been served, the water that's been served, the people they find, they're all the same.
And then he was.
And Felina's point.
Then he was mentioning those.
Those people are being served
No, it was-
substantially from the last.
No, and it's all for about the water.
No,
This is why.
Right, yeah.
my.
No, but still, so that's my.
They don't say more than that about, you're on, you're just doing this from phone, it's just, okay, I don't know, what do we do about all the people that never had money, so they're beyond the capacity for this.
Yeah, here, look,
Yeah.
this is what I've got already.
Yeah, they can still.
Oh, you're good.
So all of,
So, that's where
it's
we're
good
at.
as we go.
We had a secretary, we had a secretary at the DEC that knew shorthand.
Come up with a solution.
Yeah, no, you have to do it, but I can't talk in Thailand. How are you?
I don't,
How are you? I'm alive.
I don't, I mean, even Polina's done some incredible research, Peter,
Hey,
but it's still inclusive.
Oh, she.
How do you know?
I mean, all she knows is there are a bunch of building
Yeah.
permits that were filed that were acted on or not acted
I
on.
gotta sit down with them.
Okay.
You know, I mean, some of them are some of it's built on the interstate, from what they have down here.
This.
The code enforcement officer, but you know, there's like attitude on the other.
So that was
He
no-
gave him a building permit.
Huh?
You're recording.
Oh, that's right.
Not all of them. I don't know where the line is. Yeah.
Then it produces, if you told me that. 19, like, you know, 2000, part of things, and now.
You know, she started to build a chronology, I don't know if you've seen that. It's in progress. It's complicated.
I know this stuff down, so that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then even then, they have.
Only the 770 only came up with that. Sterling engineer buried in the.
Is there?
The 770 exists before Sterling put it down.
I
But.
Because we never made. That was a fact.
Do they have these submittals?
Everything, I went back.
When I
You know, that's everything.
Month that.
I decided. Right. No, but they got the, for the Speedies permitted.
Yeah.
The Speedies permitted to do grants, didn't DEC get it transferred to the new.
More than I know.
But the basis of
Just
that
can't remember what I.
Yeah, they were.
is, if they did not share with
Yeah,
you,
excellent.
Yes.
if they thought that they used it, this is.
And the new one that just came out.
They got a temporary residence permit.
You'll see it.
But I don't recall that
Oh, yeah.
it did any traffic. It was just whatever else said you were in you would get, right? And the camp permit, which is now expired.
That's the other thing we do.
Well, the camp is
expired.
Well, the camp permit, I think is an annual.
I've never done that.
So they would get it.
They get it annually.
But that has enough, that has not.
I'm pretty sure that has done. But it was not.
So what you think the base would be? Last time an operation was fully funded.
That, then.
Which is, I don't know.
But the fact, the.
And then.
Yeah.
And basically. And.
Well worth it. The only thing is. And I'll have to be like. I give myself an example. That's 2 times.
Yes.
Beyond there.
Yeah, I think Jennifer, Greg and I are talking about that baseline. When a project was last fully permitted.
Wait, but
When was that? We don't know.
categories, sorry, different categories have different baselines. So like, their occupancy number for infarcts might be. And it's, the baseline is the first baseline, there has had some. Yeah. But that doesn't mean they got the approvals at that number.
All they have is
Right?
they got the Speedy's permit. Transferred over by DEC from the Duke branch, right?
There would.
Oh.
Well, anyway, this is.
All right, so you're.
Remember, it's sometimes.
Well, but.
I have to tell you,
It usually 5.
every time I go in there and every time I was supposed to announce my head. It. The name. Hard for me.
You know, say, yeah, going to $450 per source. Right, that's that, right. But that per me was extended. Automatically, you know, so then you have to come up.
Right, but the permit. That's a. Oh, yeah. You gotta, if they change.
Bad throat or something?
I was, this was a good part of Saturday afternoon outside in the park.
Yeah.
Feeling- so it's not- okay.
Okay, we get the chance to repeat the same thing all over again.
Yeah.
For development, have to come up with a protocol.
I don't know if you.
Public meeting. The majority of the board. I'm using like we have to talk about how to do this. We're gonna talk about that. We're gonna have to figure out how to do this.
Oh.
Yeah. I get structure and never have a.
We're watching.
Okay, let's go. Okay.
What happened, you know, the popular is.
The good news, Zach entered the room.
That's a good.
Wow.
Scott cleared
Wow,
room.
hi, Scott.
This has never happened before.
All right,
Where's
so.
the restaurant?
I wear them down even.
That's my mom, you know.
All right, so Verizon is back. Good evening. So what I want to do, what we want to do tonight, we tried to do this, I think we're supposed to do it the night of the snowstorm, but we couldn't, obviously. And we want to do the part 2 also for Verizon. But before we do that, I would like Dave, to address again, with Scott here, the whole issue of the, the variety of documents that found their way to us over the last month. Yeah,
Variety of documents, that's a pretty deep dive.
from Scott.
From Scott.
Narrows it down,
As requested.
as requested, having to do with the height of the tower.
Yeah.
So Scott, the board has had some advice from our attorney. But I'm not gonna go into it. I would rather have our attorney describe publicly, which would mean then that your letter will then be released, okay, to the public. But I'd like you to describe again, so the board can react if there's any other reaction to what told us before. Describe to us again how we should be handling this request for a different look at the height and then a withdrawal of that request in terms of the height.
Right, well, the board will remember that, in December, Verizon, made a couple of submittals which suggested that the height of the surrounding trees that we previously understood to be approximately 45 feet was incorrect. And, the one number that strikes me the most was in one, I think in Scott's letter of December 19th, was really 100 feet, which would, and the suggestion was that would substantially change the zoning height, criterion. And at the January meeting, I advised for the applicant and the public was here that if they want to go ahead and revisit the zoning criterion, that is really a matter for the CEO. And in particular, the way I looked at it, the CEO would be making two determinations. One would be interpreting what was meant by the exact verbiage of the zoning code, which I think it said something like the nearest tree correctly. And the second would be having established what that verbiage means in this case, how high is it? The actual, and that they had provided drone footage. I also advised everybody that going for the CEO would also engender the possibility, and in fact, in my view, the likelihood of an ultimate appeal of that determination to the ZBA, because somebody was going to be upset by it, likely. And that is a process that could take several more months. And I asked Scott, in light of that, what he wanted to do. And the next month, they produced a proposal, which I think was dated January 16th, January 12th, 16th, that they wanted to withdraw their request for a waiver. And in so doing, that would imply that we don't need to worry about the zoning issue anymore. And the question was, what do we do about that? Because the zoning request not only was in black and white, but it also came with substantial amount of evidence. And I just thought about this a lot, and I ultimately split the baby on this. Recommended that, and that zoning is, and I cited a couple of cases. I didn't during the meeting in January. I did not cite any cases, but they are in the memo. There are more than two cases, but there are two cases that just flat out say that the board does not have authority to interpret the zoning law and to make rulings like that, and that specifically it is the CEO and with an opportunity for appeal to the ZBA. And so the question as to whether we should let the applicant withdraw the request for for the zoning interpretation. When I thought about it in some detail, there's a couple of factors that are not necessarily typical, but that would sway us to allow the applicant to withdraw their request. First of all, the withdrawal of the request is against their substantive interest. And I use that word throughout the memo. And for you people who are lucky enough not to be lawyers, let me explain what I mean by that. Most legal proceedings have two categories of rules and things to deal with. Substance is the actual rules that govern something, like what an engineer would apply, like no more than 5 gallons per minute, that sort of thing, no more than 100 feet high. Procedure, lawyers have this. Procedure is, how do we get there? What sort of hearing do we need? What sort of briefs are we going to write? What sort of evidence do we need to put in? Well, those are all procedural rules. They would apply to whatever the question is, and they're generally agnostic on the substance. And so when I say the substantive interest is, what is the zoning height that they have to deal with? And when he withdraws his request for the rezoning, he's basically saying, we're going to stick with that 45-foot height for the purpose of the zoning, which is bad for them. It means that they've got a 95-foot zoning requirement. Their original proposal would have been in their substantive interest. But withdrawing it is not, because it means that they're gonna be stuck with that lower height standard, which obviously they cannot meet, which means that they need either a variance or a waiver from us, and they're withdrawing the request for a waiver, so they're gonna go ahead and get that variance. So this is against their substantive interest. So the question is, so why are they doing it? Why are they doing the withdrawal? And the answer is because it would have taken a lot of time, and so that's a procedural thing. They don't want to waste 3 or 4 months. Okay. Well, do they have that right to give themselves that procedural quote unquote advantage and at a cost of a substantive disadvantage? And ultimately, the answer here is yeah. And unique among all the what we're seeing here, both with this application and with Verizon, with Rav Tov, and I actually said it today with respect to RLUIPA, is that one way to think of it, because you know our constituents and we want to use our authority to do what we think is necessary, but there are times when outside laws constrain our authority, much to our disappointment, because we want to be able to do things, and some legislature somewhere, whether it's in Washington or in Albany, comes along and tells us, well, you can't do that here, and it's not a happy situation for us, but we need to respect it because they make the laws for us. And in this case, the Telecommunications Act gives us a shot clock. And the shot clock, there's specifics to the shot clock, and there are generalities to it. And the specifics are, we have 150 days from a complete application to give them a decision. And the generality is the message that we get on the shot clock, which is the Telecommunications Act, as interpreted by the FCC, is that they have a right and the feds have an interest in a speedy resolution. We don't waste time. And that's one of the things that I told Verizon at the beginning of this process, is that we're not going to waste your time. We're going to move quickly on it. Now, it's taken quite a bit of time, but we've put in a lot of work, and they've had given us the courtesy of extending the shot clock deadlines because they see that the work we're putting in on the complexity. But with respect to the referral to the CEO with right of appeal to the ZBA, a process that can take several months, they're basically telling us they don't want to do that, right? They don't want to do that. Specifically, they're telling us they don't want to do that because of the expense of time, and they're willing to sacrifice a potential substantive advantage, meaning a better zoning classification, a better height standard for them, to avoid that expenditure of time. That's what that means. And the Telecommunications Act is telling us we have to be very, very sensitive to their time needs. And in particular, if we were to have gone there over their objections, they would then start to say that they would view that as having that further expenditure of time is not in their interest, and it's not what they want, and we're not doing it correctly, and therefore they're not going to extend the shot clock. And at that point, we end up at loggerheads. And so the judgment that I made is that because of the Telecommunications Act, because this operates against their substantive interest, i.e. they're sticking with a tougher zoning requirement, and then they have to go get a variance no matter what we approve. If we approve a tower, they're going to have to get a variance, unless we go down to 95 feet, which I don't think is likely, number one. And number two, our RF advisor has basically told us that that's not going to solve any problems. So my advice was, in this particular case, we ought to not burden the process any further with the rezoning procedure. Having said that, and I actually raised the verbiage, whether we can quote unquote unsee their submittal, and the answer is we would still withdraw the zoning submittal, but the tectonic drone footage, we don't have to unsee it. It's there. It's a fact. And the good news is, contrary to what the citizens said, we don't need a zoning criterion in order to do a seeker review. And in particular here, I'm talking about a declaration of significance as to whether the visual impact has the potential to cause a significant adverse environmental impact on the visual impact. It helps to have the zoning, and we have the zoning code, and we have all the data, and we can use all the data. We are a data processing agency. We're not a zoning agency. And the other fact here, to the people, because they're obviously related, but one way to think of zoning functionally is that zoning acts as a preclusion to the board. When the CEO makes a zoning interpretation of an application that comes in, what he's really saying is this consistent with the zoning so it can go to the board, let's say for a site plan? Or is it inconsistent with the zoning, so it can't go to the planning board, it's got to go to the ZBA for variance? That's a routing thing, and I could call that a preclusive thing. They can't come to us until they straighten out their zoning. In this case, and the third factor here, is that as important as this height standard is, it was specifically written, in my view, not to be preclusive. In other words, it says tree line plus 50 feet, but in the very next sentence, in the exact same paragraph, it says, but the planning board can waive it. Not that they need to go to the ZBA, although they've chosen to. They can come here and say, we know that we got the zoning, and that's what they did. We got the zoning standard, but you can waive it and we want you to. So ultimately, the way the town board drew this up, rightly, wrongly, or otherwise, is that the zoning and the analysis of height comes down to this board's basically assessment of the environmental impact, particularly visually. I know we've had a lot of other arguments about critters and things like that, but in reality, the basic seeker impact of a cell tower is visual from the height. And the town board has told us, we don't like it if it's more than 50 feet above the trees, but that's up to you to figure out the whole thing. So as I read that, I mean, and you guys know, we've had a very, very substantial seeker review. We've had balloon tests, we've had analyses, we've had an expert. We have a lot of stuff to figure out whether this is a significant adverse environmental impact. And the town board has told us, we're telling you what we don't like as an initial matter, but you guys figure it out. And if you think it deserves a waiver, go ahead and give it to them. So the point is that this is not a preclusive. It's not like saying if we have a 35-foot height standard and somebody comes in with a 45-foot building, that's got to go to the ZBA. We can't vary it. We can't waive it. This one we can, and it's fairly unique among the substantive rules of the code. And just to go back to substantive and procedural again, the town board has given us very wide latitude to waive procedures, to waive submittals from the applicant. If we think a report is unnecessary, we can waive it. That's pretty, both in the zoning code, but also in the subdivision code, right? We can't waive substantive standards. That's for the ZBA. If it comes in, it's going to be 35 feet. That's what we apply. This one, we are specifically allowed to waive. So it's not preclusive. It's just, we think they're telling us what they think is important, but we go ahead and crunch it. So the point is, we're here for that. We're here to crunch it. We can take whatever evidence they submitted, including the drones. We are not going to get a revision to the zoning, because if we did, they would have a right to complain procedurally because of the Telecommunications Act, and we would be on much more precarious ground than we are now. In fact, they just renewed the agreement with us to extend the shot clock. And my guess is if 2 months from now, if we were over at the CEO or the ZBA, we would not get that renewal. And Scott has also made clear in the past that his principals are very concerned about that they want to see that this is being negotiated, that this is being moved. So all those factors together induced me to opine that that this exercise of going to the CEO, which we would have done if they had stuck with their request, if they're requesting a benefit to themselves on the zoning, we're going to bring that to the CEO, particularly because there was an interpretation involved. And I provided people can disagree, lawyers disagree all the time, but that's where I was going. Having withdrawn it, I think it's just we are where we are, and I think the final thing here is that we got a letter from the citizens essentially telling us that he can't withdraw it, that we can't do seeker without it. And I want everybody to understand, and I don't mean any disrespect here, but the dose of cynicism that's involved here. These citizens are arguing that they have to go ahead and go through with rezoning that's going to help their application in the long run, because it has a substantial chance of raising the height standard from, let's say, 95 feet something up approaching between that and 150. I don't know where it would come out, but it would clearly make any variance, any waiver easier. And they're arguing for that. And so that is also a signal that what's really at stake here is the procedural aspects, the time involved, and that it's in there, because they would probably go to, and again, I don't mean any disrespect, it's what people do tactically, but they would probably, having argued that it needs to go over there, they would probably go to that ZBA hearing. They'd probably appeal to the ZBA if it didn't come out their way. They'd go to the hearing and they try to get it denied, having argued that that's where we need to go. So it's pretty opportunistic in my view. And that is a signal, I think, to us what it's all about. You guys may have a completely different impression, and this could have gone a different way. And I did it's not easy for people to understand since the zoning is defined a certain way, how we can do that. But I think what it is an appreciation of what zoning actually means in terms of a preclusion and a referral to a different part here. And we don't need to deal with that. And the only violation of zoning here, to the extent that the height is a violation, they've told us they're going to go to the ZBA and get that variance. And so that variance application will actually depend on our seeker review, because we're the lead agency. And so the point is to move forward with it. Now, I also told Scott, when I talked to him about this, before I wrote that memo, I said, I don't want to be in your shoes explaining to the ZBA what the hell happened with respect to the zoning here. Because if I'm on the ZBA, I'm not a happy camper that they had one standard and they applied for it. They wanted to go and get a different one, and now they don't. Now they're just applying for the variance. ZBA is going to want to know what are we giving a variance from, and he's going to have to make that explanation. And they're going to be a lot less understanding of this than I am, because zoning essentially is their business, and they're not going to be happy. But I told them, I'm willing to accede to this, but that's your problem. And that's what you want to do. That's what you want to do. Now, I will also tell you that one other signal here in terms of what I'm calling the preclusive aspects of zoning is that under state law, as well as arguably the Telecommunications Act, but especially under state law, there is a vastly reduced standard to get a variance. Again, because it's a utility. And the state has told the courts, we do not want zoning to preclude utilities. Now, if we do a finding here that, the utility has too much of an impact, that's another thing. And we have a right to deny an application based on too much of an impact under seeker, and including visual. But what they're saying is we don't want it zoned out as an a priori preclusion. And now the little trick here is that was really more for use variances, as if, again, you zone it residential, it's a commercial activity, they're building telephone poles, they're stringing wires, commercial activity. Obviously, you'd be zoning out service of electricity to houses. And so we're not going to do that. There is an actually open question how much it extends to area variances, which are much less preclusive, because the ZBA can grant that pretty easily. There's a case or two out there, and Scott and we've had some conversations here. In general, though, there is case law that it does also extend to area variances. So the short message is the state's telling us that, as well as what the town board told us, which is that the zoning restrictions here, they're in place, you can read them, we can take them to heart as to what they mean, but we're not going to say that town zoning is going to preclude a utility application. So we're getting signals from the feds as to the shot clock and some of the other substantive rules on the Telecommunications Act about not denying cell service. We're getting clear signals from the state as to utilities, and we got a signal from the town board as to that we can grant the waiver. So this whole idea of a zoning preclusion does not exist here. It's a very flexible thing, and therefore the idea that this is not worth that extra couple of months is under the shot clock is frankly persuasive. At least it was persuasive to me. Scott may have something to add, and you guys may have questions, which I'm happy to answer. But that was the meaning of that memo. And again, it could have come down differently. Certainly the citizens wanted it to, but they were obviously coming from a place where they did not want. They would have argued against that application over the CEO and the ZBA. They were looking for the exact delay in time that Verizon wanted to go through. Now, obviously, I'm reading a lot into everybody's motives, in terms of what they want, but frankly, it's not that, wasn't that hard to do. Anybody have any questions? Dorian?
So in either way, it goes most likely from practical point of view of applicant, we will ask for variation.
Variance,
Either variance, either from us or from.
not from us, they've withdrawn that.
Right, so I'm not clear how much it's gonna save the time instead of hiring professional company, measuring the trees and produce concrete numbers.
They could have, that's a good point, they could have, and I think I mentioned this, Scott.
Because we're creating an environment for argumentation.
They could have just gone to the CEO, squeezed out a decision one way or the other on both the interpretation and the height. And then whoever applies to the ZBA, they could have combined it with their application for variance. They've chosen not to, number one, and number two, there's the mechanism there also has delay, because if they got an interpretation from the CEO to their advantage, let's just say the new zoning is 130 feet. If the citizens have the right to appeal that to the ZBA, but they have 60 days to do it. So right there, you're already up to 3 months or so into the process when it gets to the Z, because they can do it on the 59th day. I forget what the number is, but it's usually 60 days. So they can wait the 59th day to appeal it after the CEO makes his decision, which could take a few weeks. So we're already up to 3 months in, and that's when it goes to the ZBA for the hearing, et cetera. So we can ask Scott why, but your point is well taken. You can just load the whole thing up to the ZBA, but it's still, as a practical matter, would have cost a few months, and again, the message that we're getting is they don't want to do that.
But conducting measurements and all the process and report, it's simple, months.
Well,
Done.
That's the answer.
And I agree with you, and that was what we intended to do with our December 19th submission. We gave you what I thought was data. And I argued that this board has, that we gave you drone footage and we had measurements, and it was something that, a surveyor, an engineer could look at, just like if we provided measurements on a plan. I didn't think that needed to go to the CEO. And so the withdrawal of the waiver was primarily because we couldn't waste that time. We would have ended up in a lawsuit on the shot clock, because what would have happened is, just like Dave said, I don't even know if your CEO is working right now. Maybe he or she is or isn't, but let's just say a minimum of 30 days before we got something back from that person, if not longer. Then there's 2 months that the neighbors most likely would have sued. So then that goes to the ZBA. Then the ZBA has to have a hearing, probably another 2 months. So I'm looking at right there, math is right, it's 5 months. If I get a decision in 5 months, well, if it's a decision in my favor, I'm pretty sure neighbors are gonna now do an Article 78. That doesn't preclude, it doesn't preclude us from doing this. That's another 8 months, 12 months.
I don't think.
What I gave to this board, and this is where I think my disagreement is with Dave, I wasn't looking for a zoning interpretation. In fact, I think we already have a CEO determination. Now, I don't think it's a very good one, but no one challenged it. I mean, he or she, I'm not trying to throw that person under the bus, but it is what it is. It's a very limited determination that simply says you violate the 35-foot height limit. It's like, well, the 35-foot height limit doesn't even apply. But we all know we need variance. That's why we actually applied for the variance over a year ago. So
I thought you explicitly asked for a zoning adjustment in your December 19th letter.
I gotta look at that. I would be shocked if I did that. Because that would be.
Yeah, no, he wanted us to do it, but he wanted us to do a zoning adjustment, which again is the CEO's, that's the CEO's bailiwick.
What I wanted to do was just say that
Double check.
because of this new information that is factual, whether or not it's, accurate, that's up for the board to determine. But I just said, it's out there. If you want to unsee it, I don't care. But the fact of the matter is, there are trees out there that are 100 feet tall that are very close to the compound. You may not agree with me, but it's a fact. And maybe it's not 100 feet, maybe it's 99 feet, maybe it's 105 feet. But those trees are there. Mr. Church acknowledged that a couple months ago, saying, hey, that 45 foot, and that's our bad. That's our mistake. I regretted it. Not that I sourced the material, but it came from us. But there are trees out there like that. So we just gave you the data that I thought.
Let's be clear on this. This is
Yeah.
page 2 of your December 19th letter. Your second paragraph in item number 2, reading it verbatim. As a result of this new information, the proposed 145-foot tower is compliant with the code requirement that the maximum height shall not exceed the height that is equivalent to 50 feet above the height of the surrounding trees. Therefore, neither a variance nor a waiver of this requirement required. So to me, that looks like you're asking for a readjustment of the zoning preclusive aspect of based on the data.
I hear what you're saying, never my intention whatsoever.
But you can see where I'm reading that as you're looking for.
Yeah, but I don't agree with it necessarily.
Is compliant with the code requirement is your exact.
Right, but there are things like, but this board has the right to look at the plans and say, okay.
Oh, so you just meant that as a seeker,
I meant that as this is just a factual statement.
okay.
But believe me, because I would never want to go back to the CEO after we have a decision from that person that wasn't appealed.
But you could see why that verbiage just.
I can see why that created the confusion.
Zoning readjustment.
I can see why that created the confusion, but it was never my intention. So that's why Zorian, we submitted the data and I thought that this board could look at it.
So the good news is we have more data. We've got, in terms of zoning, we have the same requirement, but he's looking to overcome the preclusion with the variance from the ZBA. It's the ZBA's problem and his problem to figure out what the hell to do about all that. We have our seeker review to do. That's where I came out on this, and if we hadn't, we would have a shot clock issue, and then frankly, there'd be no way to, I don't think there'd be any way to explain to a federal judge why we dragged them off to the CEO and the ZBA to deal with the zoning issue that is almost certainly going to get varied, and that works and then with withdrawal works against them, why we're forcing them to go through with a zoning procedure that would work in their favor when they decided they don't want to, and they want to move it more quickly, and the shot clock says they have a right to do that. If I was a federal judge listening to us say that, it would sound absurd, and again, the opponents are in that position, and that's what it would start to look like. Why would you be dragging them through that procedure when they don't want it, and staying where they are works against their substantive interest? And how the hell do you answer that question, Your Honor? Well, we had to do it, because they said that. They withdrew it. Well, what do you do there? That's where we're at. It's a little bit, admittedly, it relies on the ability of lawyers to think 2 or 3 things that are contrary to each other all at the same time and not worry about it and still sleep at night. Something lawyers are actually quite good at, as well as obviously people we read about in the news. And that's where we're at. So,
any other questions? Let's go to the part 2. So in my mind, we're back where we started at the beginning of December. We're gonna do the part 2. And basically the same process as Ravtov. Hopefully it won't take as long. So I think there's some things that are pretty obvious.
Thank you, ma'am.
Then where we are at is to come up with a part 3. Again, I'll be looking to Dave Church and myself and Dave Gordon.
are there any special DEC forms because of the visual? There's a special visual EAF, right?
I believe there is.
Is it that include a part 2?
The visual addendum?
Yes,
Would you refer? Yeah, I think that should.
They handed that in.
we have that.
Okay,
Where it gives you kind of a big list of all the potential
visual,
resources.
breaks out visual stuff?
Yes.
You wanna,
No, you don't.
Rick, do you wanna go my item, or you want a short?
Let's try to shortcut. Let's try to shortcut. How about I try shortcutting, Dave?
Want me to shortcut it?
I'll shortcut it. And you tell me where I'm off base.
All right, so we're leaping to 3.
Do you want either of these passed out?
Surface water.
Hang on one second.
Just a question.
No.
All right, so number 1 is a no. Does everybody agree? we're not gonna go through each item. In number one, is number one. At the summary level, a no. Number two, geologic features is a no. Surface water,
The only issue is if you, in the context of where we may be headed here, if you want to move the compound over and back, are you getting into the wetland buffer? I don't know, Greg, it's a question.
I think it's that.
I don't believe so. They
100
can't
foot
move-
buffer around the map wetland. Is required by town code.
That's town code.
I don't,
We
it's a
can-
it's a question I don't know. And you haven't decided to move it back yet, so
It's not much.
that would be when we
you
get,
know, based on the graphic that Greg produced, you have very little room to move.
Yeah,
And the only surface water issue would be. Would you have to modify the buffer if you were to move it
so,
southeast?
so the way that the project is being proposed, this question is, the way it's being proposed currently,
There's no impact.
there's no impact. If in fact, for whatever reason, we have to move it,
Condition,
then that's something else we have to deal with. And don't forget, we could vary the buffer,
correct.
okay? So
I'm a no, unless you decide to move the compound.
but that would be in the mitigation section. And the only reason that, the
Does
only,
everybody know where we're headed here, or?
yeah. We're headed to a conditional negative deck.
Right, so if a condition were be on aesthetics. To reduce the visual impact on the local neighborhood.
Right.
To move it back a little bit,
Do we have room?
are you getting in? That's it's a question,
So we're not there yet.
Yeah.
Dave, we're not there yet.
understood.
Okay, so let's wait till we get there.
So this is a no unless we get there, right?
Right.
Right,
Impact on ground,
Three's a no,
sorry,
three's a no,
yes.
pending.
thank you.
Impact on groundwater, no.
Flooding, no. Air, no. Plants and animals. 7,
Dave, is there an air issue when they run their generator?
No,
no. Plants and animals, the big footnote is there a presumption of preemption on this issue?
Well, yes and no. With respect to RF, I've made my point relatively clear and some of the citizens have protested, but I think that the RF conclusion is pretty clear in the Telecommunications Act. However, as we know, there are allegations of impacts on animals that are not RF, that have to do with the fact that we have 100 and whatever foot structure that birds are going to impale themselves on or nest in, because it's either a terrible thing that they're gonna fly into and kill themselves, or it's a attractive thing that they're going to use to establish their abode and thereby run into an RF issue. So I'll turn this back to the experts, but we have to consider non-RF impacts from a tower going into the sky that is going to affect flying
Migratory birds.
migratory birds.
Let's go through each one of these subcategories then. So under 7, the first one is the proposed action may cause reduction in population or loss of individuals of any
No.
threatened or endangered species.
No eagles are gonna fly into this thing?
We don't know that for sure.
Well, I heard somebody saying no, and
Can I, appropriate for me to jump in?
Go ahead.
I do have our NEPA report that says there will be no taking of.
any endangered species.
Yeah, it's part of the NEPA submission.
Yeah, that we did.
Okay.
Fish and wildlife
That's
signed off, right?
Fish and wildlife?
Yes,
But New York State lists bald eagles as threatened, as endangered, even though the federal government does not.
right.
Federal government doesn't list bald eagles as
No, they're
endangered?
no longer.
No,
endangered.
they've been delisted,
Oh.
but New York State has
That's
not.
right, yeah, okay.
New York State has not delisted them.
I think it's a yes, only because we need to say all of that, that we looked at it.
Okay, yes, and then we'll write it up in a part 3.
And there's another, yes, Dave, remember we got that report back from that subsection of the DEC, and they came back and they gave us a whole report that said that there was a plant, name escapes you right now, that is endangered, that they believe might be in this area.
Yes, I thought you two opined on the fact that it's prevalent in the area, but
Well, we
it
did.
was the
What was it?
Oh, calendula with no,
No.
bergamot, wild bergamot.
Monarda bergamot, the purple bergamot.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, it's just gonna cause a loss in population to the wild bergamot.
No,
The
No.
thing is,
Like-
the ground disturbance is inconsequential.
so we should
Right.
mention, to Jennifer's point, we should mention it as having been mentioned by this DEC group, and here's the mitigation, or
So
here's how.
small or small.
Well, if snow or smoke, we don't mention it it doesn't show.
No, I would say it's,
But the reading of I mean, I'm not an expert remotely on plants and animals, but my reading of the scholarly works is that it's the light that's the attractive nuisance.
To a plant?
On the
What?
tower, if they're lit
to a bird.
to a
Oh, the
bird,
bird,
yeah,
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 yes.
but
But
it's
the
not,
tower's not
They're
lit.
not gonna be
but the
lit.
tower's not.
no,
lit.
no lady.
And while can I just ask you one question?
Yeah.
Does Verizon or any other companies that you represent, do they put anything on these towers to dissuade nesting birds?
It's a good question
Because I.
owls would do that. And I have only one experience where we had a tower, it was in a parking lot. And there was a lot of birds that would land on it and they would basically defecate on the
Uh-huh.
cars. So whatever happened, I think Verizon had contracted with Lamar because there was an advertising board not too far away. They put an owl on it, fake one, of course, and it seemed to work. Well, I'll ask the question.
Because, there's, for construction of commercial buildings, they have spikes and things to dissuade roosting pigeons. There are things that have been employed on
So-
buildings, so it's just.
I would recommend on number 7 that we check off the summary category of yes. And we go through it and we go through how it's gonna be
You
mitigated.
know, that's a good idea, because citizens have mentioned it at length, and they've been, they mentioned other things as well, but
Well,
this.
not only that, but this wild bergamot, we have a group from the DEC, Dave, what's the name of it? The
The Heritage-
wildlife group that came back and gave us the report, huh?
Heritage.
The natural,
Heritage program.
the natural heritage.
They
They
came back
came back and gave you
and said
that.
that this plant is endangered and it's near to the site. So we have to answer that.
Yeah.
The way that we answered, so
And previous jobs that I've had.
you just answered.
Where we've had endangered plants flagged.
DEP,
Yeah, we had to have somebody, whenever there's usually a time of year, but we'd have somebody go out that's an expert and they'd walk the site that's marked for disturbance. And they'd see if they see it. And if they don't see it, then you don't do anything. And if they do see it, then you can replant it. So it doesn't mean that you can't do the action, you just have to
So let's mark it yes, and we'll deal with it in
And then
the,
I'll tell you.
that's a good signal,
Well, I-
that we're taking it,
For the
taking account
plan.
seriously, dealing with
For the
it, and
plan.
I'll answer it.
For the plant and migratory birds?
yes. For the whole category, Dave, we're gonna hit yes.
No, I'm getting at the,
So
we're gonna,
Are
if
you
we're
doing
gonna
it?
write up the condition neg deck, we gotta be more specific.
So let's go through.
Okay, so let's go through each one. 7A,
Endangered species individuals,
yes,
okay?
that's moderate.
And B is degradation of habitat for endangered.
That's a yes too.
Okay.
Proposed action may cause reduction in pipe, that's a yes.
What's the difference between A and C?
I know,
So that's the Migratory Bird Treaty Act stuff, and I
Okay,
recognize that NEPA just didn't respond, right? It said if we don't respond in 30 days, or did they send you a
No, they
letter?
responded.
They gave a letter that said no impact,
Yeah.
I thought.
There was something.
It's an email.
Yeah.
Okay,
Fish and
right.
wildlife.
Or it was Fish and Wildlife, okay.
Fish and Wildlife,
Yeah, it was
exactly.
Fish and Wildlife, sorry, okay.
D,
then, migratory bird reduction of habitat,
all right, so for D, it's a yes, or moderate rather. Everybody okay with that?
I don't think so.
E, proposed action may diminish the capacity,
I don't agree on that.
you don't agree on that one?
No, because, what is it? Is it 100 by 100?
The lease is 100 by 100, it's 50 by 50.
So it's 50 by 50 and it.
Of area that's mowed.
Of an area, I wouldn't say that area next to the apartment building is habitat that's used by bald
Right.
eagles.
what about the bergamot?
That's captured in.
That's,
Never.
what
mind.
is that, like
I
that's third or fourth growth scrub woods, right?
Okay, it's a no.
I mean, yeah.
It's a no. Let's go to 7E. Proposed action may diminish the capacity.
There are no national natural landmarks anywhere near here.
Okay, so that's a no. Proposed action may result in removal of,
Significant
No.
natural community.
Designated, that would be your plant again, right?
I don't know.
I think when they talk about significant natural communities, it's not one species.
Yeah, it's more like a,
Yeah.
like a park or something like that.
proposed action may substantially interfere with nesting, breeding, foraging, or overwintering.
With the predominant species.
So I guess the nesting and the breeding,
Interfere with.
We could mark it as yes and explain
okay.
what's going on.
H, the proposed action requires the conversion of more than 10, no.
No,
I, proposed action involves, no.
no,
Okay, impact on agricultural resources,
no.
All right,
no,
let's just, can we pause for a moment here, just so I understand what we're gonna do with this?
sure.
So we're gonna answer that with conditions.
For the write-up and then ultimately with, with what conditions, we have C and D, which as you told me.
Right,
an
so
hour
a
ago.
condition would be, we'd have a professional go out there before
No, it
construction.
might be, we might write it up to say. I mean, that's possible, or we might write it up to simply say. It's our experience that this plant is wild in the entire area.
Okay,
There's any number of ways we can so there is no condition, but there's an explanation of. Why it's not significant enough to rise to the level of,
okay,
I also want to be clear, when I suggested a C and D. The condition I had in mind for the board to really focus on was that we would. Designate the height of the allowed height of the facility, although the applicant may not agree with us. This would be the mechanism by which we could do that, and then that would be carried forward into the
but there's gonna
permit.
there will be other conditions. So for example, we need to discuss. Whether it's a monopole or a
But
Franklin.
but they'll agree with a lot of those, I think.
But I'm just saying, it's not just the height, it's
Yeah.
the law.
But that's
Okay.
the one that we are interested in. That's why the mechanism is there with all its difficulties, because it allows us to make that decision based on our secret review.
Right.
okay, 8, there's nothing with agricultural related to this
Right.
property.
Number 9,
So you're at 9, which is the farm one.
Obviously, yes.
so that's a yes. Number 9, everybody all right?
I think you need to go through item
Let's go
by
through
item
it.
on 9.
Okay, proposed action may be visible from any officially designated federal, state, or local. It's moderate.
That's yeah.
Moderate or minor,
What, sorry?
moderate or minor, because.
Yep. The proposed action may
We have a pile of data that
Right.
would be wasted if we didn't say yes and put it in part 3 and develop it over wherever we're going,
Okay,
right? We want to use that. We want to use that data. That's
and
gonna
then
be
we'll explain,
referenced in
okay,
our part 3.
I follow you.
The proposed action may result in the obstruction, elimination, or significant screening of one or more designated, no. Proposed action may be visible from publicly accessible vantage points. Moderate,
Yes.
Yeah, this is the non-park thing, but like the granite road, for
really.
example, and other, just a road that's not necessarily a park or,
Right.
209 is the highway.
the situation or activity in which viewers are engaged while viewing the proposed action is routine travel by residents, including travel to and from work. Moderate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Recreation or tourism based, moderate. Proposed action may cause a diminishment of public enjoyment or appreciation.
Of
Of
the
the
designated aesthetic resource, so we're talking about here, like Minnewaska or Scenic
Scenic byway, your expert says no.
Okay, is everybody in agreement with that?
Yes.
Yeah.
There are
This
similar,
is the inventoried resource that.
Yeah. There are similar projects visible. No,
So only got 5 miles.
Oh, there's
Let's bump the
plenty
rest
of
on that.
towers within 5 miles of there.
And 5 plus, so, yeah,
all right, you're right,
There's 6 of them at Sam's
at
Point.
Sam's Point, yeah,
There's one,
okay.
there's
yeah,
2
it's a
in
yes.
town.
It's a moderate.
I was really thinking in town more than such.
You answer that, then. Is Sam's Point as close as?
There's,
There are similar, but it's not asking for a yes or no, but.
I don't know what, I've never understood what the point of this.
Yeah,
is.
it almost doubles back against,
It's kind of rhetorical, but I hear you.
answer it yes.
Yeah, I'm with Dave. Don't drill too deep into the form. The form's actually pretty terrible.
Yeah.
Please.
I
Number
applied
10,
for the
here we
date
go.
when he didn't have to use it.
Here we go, number 10, impact on historic and archaeological resources.
Now, this
No.
is, I think you can go to, I've got you going next to 15, noise, odor, and light.
So 10 is no. 11 is no.
I mean, it's just a proposal.
The
Dave,
EA is
Talk
no.
to me. 10 is no, you're proposing.
I'm
No,
proposing
11 is no,
No's all the way to 15.
12 is no,
15's the generator,
13 is no, 14 is no, 15 noise,
generator.
odor and light. So
No light, right? No
15.
light.
15A,
Not on the tower, just the light within the compounds.
let's go through each one, guys. 15A, the proposed action may produce sound above noise levels established by local regulations. The answer to that is no.
It can't.
We don't know.
You don't allow it to.
No, but this goes back to like, you have to explain it, so you have to say, I
Right.
did the noise
The
analysis.
study is there, yeah.
So you have to, you say moderate,
Yeah.
whatever, and then.
You're talking
talk
a
about
5
the study.
5 dB delta at the property line. How can the
Well, I
answer
think
be no?
Jennifer's right. This is the generator discussion.
You don't have to, we already analyzed it, it's fine, but we have to, we want to put it in.
But that's not what it says, right? It says proposed action may produce sound above noise levels established. It doesn't go above the noise
No,
levels.
but that's because we studied it.
Because
and
you're
determined-
mitigating it with a series
You're
of
right.
things.
Yeah,
Sorry.
follow?
Yes, moderate, sorry. Proposed action may result in blasting? No.
No.
Proposed action may result in routine odors? No. Proposed action may result in light shining? No. Proposed action may result in lighting creating? No.
Skype.
So this
So we
is,
probably should just under this, since we're gonna be discussing this item, right? We
We could add it,
explain what we're doing about lights?
well, there's no lights,
There's
right?
just a light on the H frame itself, which is within the compound, H frame is, and it's a switch operated, except that it's automatically turns off in case the operator of the technician forgets to turn it off, so like, it goes off after an hour.
Can I go back to order?
hang on one second, I just wanna. All right, go ahead. Talk
Is
to me
that
about
gonna
odor.
be diesel or propane general?
Most likely diesel,
So it can smell.
It's
Exhaust.
a
I mean,
generator.
cars smell on the road.
No, exhaust.
Yeah.
Exhaust.
It's Scott, I think the problem with diesel is gonna be, I was assuming you're gonna go with propane. I thought we talked about this for two reasons. The smell and also if there's a spill.
There's no spills
How can you-
because.
How do you know that for sure? There's not
50,
gonna be any
50, yeah,
spill?
50 KW, because it's got tertiary, no, it's got at least, not tertiary necessarily. It's a double walled belly tank on the bottom, about 225 gallons. So it's double wall. So if it gets through the first one, there's a second one, and then
So,
the other
Greg,
are concrete foundation.
When we did the noise study, was it based upon a diesel generator or a
Yes.
propane?
Cause that was the diesel generator was what they proposed on,
Okay,
the noise.
So correct me if I'm wrong, does that Samsung runs it with the engine, then it smells? The diesel or not? Exhaust,
sorry, how often is it gonna go up?
it says more than 1 hour per day.
Nothing? It's not, yeah, it's every
20
two
to 30 minutes,
50 years
20 to 30 minutes bi-weekly.
Okay.
Yeah.
No,
Just-
here it says more than 1 hour, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's in there, yeah, but that's what it is. We just run it to
Okay,
maintain
so it's less
warranty
than
and
1 hour,
lubricate.
less than 1 hour per day.
Unless it needs to go. You know, if the power's out, yes, it's going to go until the power's restored.
All right, so for number 15, it's a yes, overall it's a yes, and it's a yes because of the noise levels, and then we have a study that talks about the noise level. We're gonna forget about odor, sorry.
Okay.
All right, 16, we've got Mr. Gordon's discussion of preemption.
Well, again, that's for the RA. We're not gonna, even the citizens agree to that. We're not gonna do RF impacts on human health, but if there's something else somehow, okay.
So you want to go through these or there's
Yeah.
nothing here?
There either, but it's up to you.
You want me to whip through?
Go ahead.
Which one? 16?
Okay, A is located within 1,500 feet of a school, hospital, no. Is the site proposed or undergoing remediation? No. Is there completed emergency spill remediation or completed? No. It wasn't it's not a site that had to be remediated ever. Is the site an act of the action is subject to an institutional control limiting use?
No.
Like a deed restriction? Is it
Well,
proposed?
institutional controls, like, that's when DEC cleans up a site,
Yeah.
they require certain things
Yeah.
that
Okay, no,
Is that what
The IBM plant at Kingston's under consent decree,
Keep
right?
going.
Or,
Yes.
the
E,
E is the proposed action affect institutional control measures that were put in place.
no,
F, does the proposed action have adequate control measures in place to, again, this doesn't, G, proposed action involves construction or modification of a solid waste management
No.
facility, no. H, proposed action may result in unearthing solid or I, proposed action may result in
No.
increase in rate of disposal or processing solid waste.
No.
J, proposed action may result in excavation or disturbance with 2,000 feet of a site used for disposal.
no,
K, the proposed action may result in the migration of explosive gases from a landfill site. L, the proposed action may result in release of contaminated leachate.
so that's a no. Number
But,
17,
but important to note, in the minutes we went through it.
okay, number 17,
17 is the consistency with community plans. So myself, Peter, Helena, and Hans collectively went through all the plans we could find, and there's no references to towers, this neighborhood,
Okay.
nothing.
Well, then is it consistent with the zoning, other than the, not the height, but the use?
Consistent with something that doesn't speak about it.
It's fine,
no.
it's not inconsistent.
Number
Um,
18,
18, consistency with community character. I think you have to go through this one, because this is
go through it then,
this is the local aesthetic question.
Yeah.
go through it.
A, proposed action may replace or eliminate existing facilities, structures, or areas of historic importance.
No,
B, the proposed action may create a
No.
demand for additional community services.
no,
C, the proposed action may displace affordable or low-income housing. No. D, the proposed action may interfere with the use or enjoyment of officially recognized or designated public resources.
no.
E.
Everybody okay with that?
E,
So it's,
well, it's the road and the neighborhood. They're not officially recognized.
Minnewaska, the enjoyment of the scenic byway,
Well, that, our consultant and told us, well, our consultant told us in his opinion, no, but we have to make that
you have to make
determination.
that determination, so if you say no, you're making it right now.
The town code is,
The town code says you have to, I forgot, have the minimum effect on the visual character of the neighborhood, right?
Yeah.
Why don't we acknowledge the possibility, they're proposing a 150-foot tower, why don't we acknowledge the possibility that it could, and then part of the
Yeah.
C and B will be dealing with that.
You know, I think you can get it at E and F.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the-
Fair enough, that's
Want me to read them?
why he makes it.
Oh, yeah.
E, the proposed action is consistent with the predominant architectural scale and character. And F, the proposed action is inconsistent with the character of the existing natural landscape.
Okay, so,
So if you do E and F, do you buy that?
yes. So D is no, but E and F is yes, or moderate.
That's
Yeah.
right.
And
Okay.
again, just
And
that's
and
means we're gonna
then
write
with-
it up.
And so this whole category is a yes.
What
Yeah,
is the
I mean,
architectural scale and character?
Means if you have a community where the buildings are 20 feet high and you build something 100 feet high, that's out of scale. If you have a community where the buildings are 100 feet high and you build a building that's 100 feet high, it's not out of scale. So you got a 150-foot tower here in a place where the buildings are whatever they are and not necessarily close by. So it's really it comes back to the trees actually, right? So that's what it means is, are you doing something that's just gonna look different and out of place in the place where it is?
I read architectural and I read it differently, so.
Well,
Yeah.
you want to talk about what you're gonna do about this?
But then landscape is, right, landscape is F, architecture would be built, so you got F, there's a natural landscape and E is the building, the architectural landscape. So
I think it's.
Rick, should we talk a little bit about conditions? For the
Well, we
purpose of
could.
writing up at least, I don't know. what
We
time.
could, it's 10:30. Why don't you and I work on the conditions to deal with these things?
Okay,
Or that come out of these things? And then bring it back and send it to the board,
okay.
unless we want to talk about it now.
Well, we'll need a part three anyway, right?
So your proposal is we'll write up a draft part 3 and share it.
And you
That
wanna
sounds
put-
like a
you wanna
good idea.
put the Conditions in part three as to how we're gonna
I know.
mitigate.
I mean, the conditions here are the everything
You
from
agree
the
with-
Franklin tree to the color of the tower to the height issue.
Draft the part, I would suggest, draft the part three, draft the CND, we'll come and deal with it. CND will have the conditions, that's just depending with conditions, the part three is the explanation why,
Yes.
right?
So again, I think, yeah, yes to what you said. Dave and I had a long discussion today about how to get this to the next steps. And so the three of us need to talk about how to get this to the next steps.
Right now, let's make a motion to get them drafting a part three and.
Can I make one comment? before
Yes.
we have to put the motion? Is just on D and 18, you think do we decide no on that? Because public resources would be the road, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, so that should be a moderate,
Okay.
just to make a note of that,
On D?
on D.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's
it's
already-
the question is it full officially recognized or designated
Yeah, well,
as a public place?
the byway is,
The byway for sure.
Oh, yeah, I had that.
Guess it was.
it doesn't, you know,
Yeah, why not?
it helps us.
It's already a yes,
It helps us recognize it and then we can deal with it
Yeah.
in the.
because, you look on 209, there are places that it was definitely seen,
Yeah,
so there's no downside to that.
I'd say if we just blow it off here, people are gonna get upset that they've done all this, they drove around, they took pictures and they just kind of didn't make it.
So Rick, we'll do a post-meeting letter, the applicant will see on the items we're focusing on.
Yes.
So we can,
Yeah,
so we can
listening to the-
encourage, we can encourage input from the applicant.
Applicants listening.
All right, but we need a resolution.
Make a motion,
Dave Roberts beat you to it,
I make a motion.
that we,
I thought Hans was volunteering to do this.
Oh.
the resolution is to
Authorize him to write.
authorize Dave to do a part three.
Yeah.
Second by Hans?
Yeah.
All in favor?
do we need any additional resources in that motion
What?
at this point? Any additional
All
resources?
hands on deck.
We're gonna
Any
need,
outside consultants that we should include in that?
we should include, the resolution should include any additional resources, including.
Same verbiage as before,
Okay,
but.
very good.
How you doing, Stacy? You keeping up? Cause it's a moving target.
So you should consider that as part of writing up the part three, you can suggest to the board. You can draft it,
The others.
draft the next, draft a CND for the board's consideration that. As your judgment is what we're supposed to do, and you know the board's interested in
And
that.
you know what, to help Dave and I and whoever else, if the board wants to send us some conditions that you think need to be put in here, let's do that the next couple of days.
Yeah, I think we have a motion.
And copy the whole board, but please don't respond as if we're in a meeting back and forth. So just list the conditions that you think should be considered.
I think we have a motion on the floor, right?
What's that?
We have a motion hasn't been voted on the floor.
Oh, we didn't vote? I guess we did.
Vote on.
No, we didn't.
No, we didn't vote.
We didn't
No,
vote.
okay.
So,
I call a vote to the motion is on the floor. It was moved by Dave and it was seconded by Hans.
Those in favor?
Motion for approval.
I,
Anybody opposed?
And I just want to point out to the board, that Dave reminded me a little bit earlier in the meeting. If we were to be interested in a CND and we would, move to adopt it by motion. At the next meeting along with the part three, we would then put it up for public hearing for a month. So literally gets run up the flagpole for a month. We'll have a public hearing on it the next month. That, right?
It's,
Or
you
public
have to have
comment.
a public comment.
Okay.
I think a hearing's a,
The seeker regulations say public comment period, but almost everywhere in seeker where there's a public comment period, particularly on scoping documents and also EEIS's, public hearing is very natural, and I can't imagine that we would not do that here. So,
Question about the hearing.
sure,
Is it like in a more formal environmental reviews where you have to do responses to comments?
there's nothing that I've seen that indicates that we need a response to the summary. We should interpret responsiveness summaries as DEC regulations for DECU under DEC UPA procedures and not for seeker. The only time you have to do responsiveness in seeker is on a DEIS.
Okay, gotcha.
Right?
And scope, draft scope of work,
Helene, am I right?
Yes.
and the draft scope of work.
If it's
I was
gonna be
looking for
conditional
information.
negative declaration, would we define height of the town?
To my mind, as what I said earlier, is that's the reason why we're doing it, because that's the one condition that the applicant it
Right,
probably is
so
not in a position.
we're gonna settle on a height that be acceptable to us?
And it may not be acceptable to the applicant.
No, that's
why
what I
we're-
understand.
The other stuff, the monopine and everything, they would probably exceed to that, but they basically signaled. They want 150 feet, 145 feet, and so if we don't, this is the mechanism by which we would regulate affirmatively. Otherwise, because it's their application, and like I said, they're gonna agree to whatever, whatever paint
Yes,
job.
they indicate it's in a cape, it was 100 point, I think.
We can discuss that
Yeah, okay.
when we circle back, and there'll be a public hearing on, at least public comment period, public hearing. So this is gonna be fully vetted among everybody. The applicant will be able to say what they want, the public will be able to say what they want, we can make our own decision, and that will be that. And then we'll get to, site plan approval, but that will rely on the conditions that we lay. Otherwise, if we neglect it, we could not do that. Because it's their application. If they say they want 150, then that's their application. What we will say as a matter of seeker review is that you get a neg deck if it's 120 or whatever number we come up with, not to prejudge anything. And if you want to insist on 150, that's a pos deck at that. That's the way it works.
Says the 30 days start when you put it in the EMB.
We've got to publish in the END.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Environmental notice bulletin, for those of you who aren't seeker nerds, it's a publication of the DEC detailing all of the major seeker actions all around the state by region, so we would
Okay,
be.
Dave, I think everybody's looking at each other and they're saying,
You
we
don't,
want to go
you
home.
don't want to hear more?
We want to go home.
Right,
I still.
Never mind.
We do need the, for the
That's
part,
how-
Me too, when it comes out.
for the part.
Yeah.
There you go.
And you go,
The rest of us read about lost items, right?
so
Thank
we'll get through it
Have my
ourselves in
finger
the
on the
ENB,
pulse.
which doesn't always.
But we do need suggestions on what conditions you want,
Yes, please.
because that has to go in those.
I have about.
So if you have any, shoot them to Rick or me or Peter or,
Okay.
Ogo.
All right. I'll entertain a motion to, I do have one more thing. Real quick, sorry. We'll handle it at the next meeting on the 23rd. We have a situation with Meadow Lakes where, if you remember when we do subdivisions, next to last paragraph says you have 180 days to get all of the conditions completed and to submit them to the board for the chair in order for the chair to sign the maps. They suddenly realized that they were beyond the 180 days.
Oh.
I realized they were beyond the 180 days and I called them. I said, you guys are beyond the 180 days. So there is a provision in the decision that says you get 2 90-day extensions. So what I told them I would ask the board to do on February 23rd is to simply take the day when they were supposed to come to us, the end of the 180 days, and start the first 90-day extension, and also to give them the second 90-day extension, so this doesn't happen again. So I'm gonna propose that on the 23rd, and they said, well, what happens if we don't get it done at the end of the year? I said, well, you don't want to know what I said, but it was something like you have. But, so I just want you to think about that, and we'll vote on that on the 23rd. I'll have a resolution to that effect.
I mean,
And there was a good reason why they missed it, and had to do with, well, there's no good reason for missing something like that, but it's taken them, they still don't have approval, 7 months to get the Department of Health to approve their septic. Just like- That's what they told me.
I believe it.
That's a reasonable reason.
I make the motion to adjourn.
Second.